The title of today's class is called Vanity and Vain Worship. Vanity, is a term that we hear often growing up, get out that mirror, or stop taking so long to get dressed, or just stop being so concerned with outer appearance. And that was, for most of us, that was our understanding. But the word vanity is used very often in the word, and it's very important that we understand, what was the Hebrew context of the word that was being used, and how can we apply it in our lives so that we can ensure that we are not being vain, or we're not having vain worship, which is useless. So we're going to open up in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, and we're going to read that whole chapter. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanity, saith the preacher, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goes down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about into the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. So thus far, all these things, these are Yahweh's laws. These are universal laws that he's created in the earth, that all these things follow according to these commandments that Yahweh set forth. Verse 8. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. And, as we get deeper into this word and get a better understanding through Yahweh, we see that all these things that are going on in the world right now, all these things have been done before. The rulers, the way they're ruling, everything has been done. This agenda of this, same-sex marriage agenda and all that, all this stuff has been done. These things have been in the earth forever. Verse 10. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It had been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are come to with those that shall come after. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath Elohim given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of the spirit. So in verse 13 he says, I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath Elohim given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. So this search of understanding, of trying to understand Yahweh and his things that are done under the heaven, are used to exercise you, to move the things out of you that don't belong there. Even sometimes when we were often to look into all this vain knowledge and this, that, and the other, sometimes that was a lesson we needed to learn to get all the way into this mystical stuff, to realize this is useless. This is not going to help. This is not helping me become a more righteous person, a better son of Elohim. So all those things are used to exercise us. Verse 14, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I commune with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived, and this also is vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. And we all have understood that no matter what level of understanding we're at currently in our walk in this word. The more that we learn, the more our eyes open, the more vexation of spirit, the more sorrow, the more grief, because the more people come against you, the more Satan starts to see that you're a threat. He's not really worried about the people that are already doing the things that he requires for worship, but once you try to turn that corner, Satan don't want that. So all those things come. So we heard more than several times this word vanity, and we all have our own understanding of the word vanity, but what's important, like I said at the beginning, is we need to get into this definition of vanity. So if we look at the Hebrew word vanity, the Hebrew word that was translated to vanity in English, it's H1892, which is Hebel. Now, the definition from H1891, emptiness or vanity, figuratively something transitory and unsatisfactory, often used as an adverb. So when something is vain or full of vanity, then it's empty. It's transitory and unsatisfactory. And I believe transitory means like temporary or in through movement. Unsatisfactory. You know, so when something is vain or you're doing vanity, it is empty. It's unsatisfactory, and it's transitory, temporary. It's not going to last. So that's the definition of vanity. Now, every time we hear that word vanity and that word Hebel was used, that is the understanding that we need to grasp a hold of vanity so that we can understand why it's dangerous and how to avoid vanity. So let's go into Exodus chapter 28, and we're going to start at verse 1. And we're going to look at vanity from all the important aspects in our life. And we're going to start with appearance, having vain appearance and apparel. And we're going to use that word vanity, that Hebrew understanding of the word, and we're going to look at this word vanity, how it applies to our appearance and our apparel. So Exodus chapter 28, and we're going to read verse 1 through 3. Exodus 28 and verse 1. And take unto you Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, Ithamar, Aaron's his sons. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother for glory and for beauty. So these holy garments that were being made for the sons of Aaron were for glory and for beauty. And we understand that the sons of Aaron were the first ones chosen to do this ministering, this officiating in Yahweh's house. So under this Aaronic order of priesthood, this was this first selected group of priests to handle this execution of the priest's office. So he's giving a dress code of how the priest is supposed to dress, and he's describing and letting you know that these garments are for glory and for beauty. Well, whose glory is it for?
The glory is for Yah.
Exactly. The glory is for Yah. And whose beauty is it for?
Well, that's a good one there, too. I mean, the beauty, I look at it both ways, you know. I mean, beauty for man to look good. We can see him have like a uniform on, you know, to look good before Yahweh as a respect. But also, it's also Yahweh seeing beauty of his people to worship him in an outfit that he chose.
Exactly. The glory and the beauty is for Yahweh. The beauty is his children, but we are married unto Yahweh. What husband want his wife looking busted, walking around looking busted? That's a reflection of him. You know, they're one flesh. So if we are one spirit with Yahweh, then he's saying that I'm going to show you what is beautiful unto me. That's how the wife is supposed to dress. What's beautiful unto her husband. So Yahweh is saying, this is what's beautiful unto me. I want you to be holy, which means set apart, and I want you to be beautiful. So I created you beautiful, and I'm telling you how this is beautiful. So, verse 3, and you shall speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest office. So he's letting you know that, okay, this is how the priest who's going to minister unto me in the priest office, this is how he is supposed to dress. So if you go further down, verse 4, and these are the garments which they shall make, a breastplate and an ephod and a robe and a broidered coat, a mitre and a girdle, and they shall make holy garments for Aaron and your brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and of fine twined linen with cunning work. So he's given the description, the head covering, the girdle, the robes, the covering, the broidered coat, everything. He's giving the whole definition of what's beautiful unto him. Let's go ahead and jump down to verse 36. Exodus chapter 28, and we're jumping down to verse 36. And it says, and you shall make a plate of pure gold, and engrave upon it like the engravings of a signet, holiness to Yahweh. And you shall put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the forefront of the mitre it shall be. So this is what Yahweh is saying, that this is representing holiness unto him, set apart. This is holiness to Yahweh. So this is what Yahweh wanted us to see from this priest. When we look at this priest's exterior and how he's dressed, this is not something he's going to just go in his closet and pick out and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to dress just like this because it looks good. No, he's going in there and he's following a specific guideline of instructions of how Yahweh said, this is how my employees are supposed to dress. This is how my servants. Exactly, this is uniform. And on top of that, this is how my wife is supposed to dress. This is how she's supposed to dress to give me glory, to show her obedience. Because what kind of king has a kingdom that doesn't follow his rules? The kingdom just does whatever they want. That's not glorifying that king. Verse 38. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts, and it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before Yahweh. Verse 39. And you shall embroider the coat of fine linen, and you shall make the mitre of fine linen, and you shall make the girdle of needlework. So the girdle is the breeches. If we go down and look at girdle. Girdle was... That's the belt. The girdle is the belt. So girdle is 873, which is a belt of needlework. Verse 40. And for Aaron's sons you shall make coats, and you shall make them for them girdles and bonnets, and shall make for them glory and for them for glory and for beauty. So again, all these things, this uniform is for glory and for beauty. And our purpose here on earth is to glorify Yahweh. Verse 43. Verse 42. And you shall make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. So these are the breeches that I was talking about. Even your boxers that are under you are supposed to come down to your thigh, to cover their nakedness. From their loins even unto their thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come into the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister unto the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and to his seed after him. So these are the specific instructions that were given unto the priest. Under this order, this is how the priest is supposed to dress. Now, the high priests, which were the sons of Aaron, they wore the additional coats and things like that. But the rest of the Levites dressed in the priestly attire. So you ask yourself, this is how the priest is supposed to dress. So now let's apply vanity to that. Okay, so now that we have a better understanding of the word vanity or a sure understanding of the biblical definition of vanity, how does that apply to your physical appearance? So now if you dress in yourself and you know that your loins are supposed to be covered, your head is supposed to be covered, you're not supposed to be, mixing materials and things like that, which we're going to get to in a second, and you dress in a manner that, okay, well, I'm trying to dress in holy attire, and I know that I'm supposed to cover my loins, but I'm just going to tuck in my shirt because it looked better. Now that's vanity. That is vanity because now you have turned your dress code into something that is empty, into something that is transitory, that's not going to last. And it's unsatisfactory because Yahweh said your loins need to be covered. So whatever you're doing is now unsatisfactory. That is vanity. When you're trying to keep the commandments to the best of your ability, because everything is to the best of your ability, and you know that you're not doing something right and you purposely don't do it right because you want to look better or because, it's more convenient, that's vanity. You're doing it now just to appear that you're trying to dress like a priest, but your intent is not to dress like a priest. Because if your intent was that, then you would say, okay, I know that I need to cover my loins. Well, let me cover my loins. That shirt ain't long enough. I can't wear that shirt. Let me grab this one. Let me cover my loins. I got this nice hairstyle, and it looked great with this priestly outfit, but I need to cover my head. Well, no, I'm not going to cover my head. That's vanity. It's insufficient. Right. So that's how we need to apply this word vanity. So let's go ahead and let's jump down and look at the woman and her head covering. 1 Corinthians.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Even in that same scenario that you just gave right there, doesn't the phrase, I believe, every man is right in his own eyes, and that's the same way that they look at it, Yahweh put a format for man to follow, and he said in 43, come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die, because he set a format and he put these things out here as being a covering, because man is a sinner, man is worthy of death. So I'm not going to let you come before me all messed up and funky and unclean, when I set a precedence for you to clean you to be able to come before me. And man, like as you said, I think I look good like this, and I think I look good this way. When y'all say, then it becomes vanity, because now you are, you are superseding what I want you to do before you come before me, because I am Yahweh, but you think in your own mind what you think is good. So exactly. Then, now you're sinning, now you become vain, because now your thoughts, you try to push your thoughts higher than Yah.
Exactly. Now that glory and beauty is for yourself, because you're like, no, this is more beautiful this way. No, Yahweh said it's beautiful to cover your loins. That's beautiful to me. No. This is how I get my glory. You're gonna say, this shirt looked better tucked in, or hey, look, this shirt is just short, but it looked better. It matched the color better. That now is vanity. It's empty. It's unsatisfactory. So it's vain. And this is what Yahweh warns us about. Don't even waste your time. All right, so let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14. Yahweh set a standard for his wife, what his wife needs to do. Not only did he set a standard for what his wife needs to do, he set a standard for what his children's wives need to do. And the thing is, Yahweh didn't fully explain everything. You know, he left a lot of things for us to learn for when the Mashiach returns, and a lot of things for us to learn as we grow in this word and the Spirit is poured out on us. But at the end of the day, he gave us instructions, hey, do this. Just because we don't understand it all don't mean we don't do it. You don't have to explain everything to us. He explained things in his due time, just like he could have just dropped the Messiah off right then and there with Moshe. Moshe would have been his right-hand man. And, hey, you know, I'm the Mashiach. It's Israel. I'm here, and here go Moshe. This is how you got to walk. Yeah, no, you can feed your camel on the Sabbath. You know, yeah, you can heal somebody on the Sabbath, but don't do. Man, people have been confused. It took them 40 years just to get Egypt out of them. They had to kill off everybody over 20 years old except for Caleb and Yahshua. So,
right.
You know, things have to be done in his time, in his proper timeline. So before you are even getting that second knowledge of anything, you got to be able to show obedience. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14. Verse 1, Saul called to be an apostle of Yahshua HaMashiach through the will of Elohim, and Sosthenes, our brother, unto the church of Elohim, which is at Corinth, to them that are sanctified in the Mashiach Yahshua, called to be saints, with all that in every place call upon the name of the Mashiach, our Adonai, both theirs and ours. We're in 1 Corinthians chapter, I'm reading the wrong thing, chapter 11, I'm sorry.
Right.
1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1. I'm in verse 1. I'm in chapter 1. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1. Be you followers of me, even as I am also of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is the Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of the Mashiach is Elohim. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if she were shaven. So this is why we start every time we say, hey, all men need to remove their head covers. Because it says right here, men praying or prophesying, having their head covered, dishonors their head. And right before that, Yahweh gives the definition of who's the head of who. Okay, the head of every man is Christ. So if we pray or prophesy with our heads covered, we dishonoring Christ. And, you know, when the woman uncovers her head and prays or prophesies, she's disrespecting us. She's dishonoring the husband. And now when the husband is allowing the wife to disrespect him, the husband is disrespecting Yahweh, because Yahweh said, no, this is my order. This is what I set up. This is how the household is supposed to be ran. So this is how interrelated we are, and that's why we have to truly be one flesh, walking in one direction. Verse 6, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. So there's a difference here. We're going to go ahead and get into that difference. It says, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn, which is means sheared. Her hair will be cut. That means her hair will be a short hairstyle.
Yeah.
Now, but if it be a shame for a woman to be with a short haircut, or shaven. Now, shaven is a different word here, which means to shave. That means it's all the way cut.
Yeah.
Let her be covered. Exactly. Let her be covered. And we know there's certain reasons why the head is shaved. If we go into a war with one of our adversaries and we take them captives and we see a woman that we like, we're able to take that woman.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're allowed to take that woman because we own that. We own that right now.
Things will take the glory off her head and humble her.
Right. We have to shave her head and we have to par her nails, which means we have to allow her nails to grow. She has to grow out her nails. So, you know, you see the sisters walking around with the hair, you know, the long, you know, fake nails or whatever. That's supposed to indicate that you have now been taken captive and you are now belonging to a Hebrew, according to that law. So if that has nothing to do with that law, then that's like almost saying that that's vanity, because you're growing your nails or putting out these really ultra long nails when that's supposed to happen because the woman has been, she's been removed from her previous covering. Verse 7.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, matter of fact, we can go ahead and let's go ahead and go into that law real quick. Let's get into that. That is, let's find that. Okay, it's Deuteronomy 21 and verse 12. Actually, let's start at verse 10. Hold your place in 1 Corinthians, and we're going to just go into that law, so that we always make sure things aren't word of mouth. We got to be able to prove all things. Deuteronomy chapter 21, and we're going to start at verse 10. Verse 10. When you go forth to war against your enemies, and Yahweh your Elohim hath delivered them into your hands, and you have taken them captive, and seest among them captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that you would have her to your wife, then you shall bring her home to your house, and you shall shave her head and pare her nails. So, like I said, the pare was the growing of the nails. Let's go into the Hebrew word for pare. The Hebrew word for pare was H6213, which is a saw, which is a saw. AWSAW is how it's pronounced, but in Hebrew is ASAH. A primitive root to make in the broadest sense and widest application, accomplish, advance, appoint, become, bear, bestow, bring forth, bruise, be busy, deck. So, and there's a whole long list of other words, but basically it's to bring it out, bring forth, make it longer, grow it out. And
basically the women only had short nails because a vanity in them days, so that if I purposely made them grow their nails out, and that would show the reason why, and especially with a bald head, there's a reason why that she was taken, and she's a captive, and the man decided to take her as his wife.
Right. And remember, they would have to be separated so other men would know what's going on here. If this woman didn't have her head covered, and her hair was shaved, then, that would kind of implicate that she doesn't have a covering. She's just, loose. And that seeing that her nails were being grown out, and she had on, and which we're going to read further, she had on a specific type of raiment, that was signifying to people that, okay, this is a woman that is being taken into somebody else's household. She's going to have a covering.
But I got a question you to think about, too, the different times that we have now. We see ladies with a lot of long nails, even doing work in department stores and wherever they're at. But in them days, what the heck are you going to do with long nails when that's hard days? Are you a well-kept woman that had long nails?
Yeah,
you know
not
what I mean? So
to the
more meaning. You know what I mean? It was more of a meaning.
Right.
There was hard labor in them days. If you're going to break your nails all up, you must be one heck of a well-kept woman that you don't have to do nothing with long nails. Get my meaning?
Exactly. So, a lot of these things they just things that we did because we were always captives, and the other nations, they held on to a lot of our, you see what all the other nations do? They grab the things that pertain to us and they assert them into their own culture. And they just, apply it to their own God. So, a lot of these things were done to us. Even the fringes. They had other people of other nations were wearing fringes. But it was vanity to them. But to us, it was for righteousness. It was to keep the law. So if we continue reading the rest of that, verse 13. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off of her, and shall remain in your house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, you shall go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall let her go whither she have will, but you shall not sell her at all for money. You shall not make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her. So that was the law in regards to that. You know, the woman shaving her head and growing her nails out. And we're going to pick back in 1 Corinthians.
I got a question for you just on that point right there. Remember we talked about before, a man takes a woman and so forth, and then the only reason he get rid of her for adultery or in them days, I think they gave a letter of divorce because a man was too hard on his wife, or he might kill her by beating her, or all those type of things. But this right here, if he took this woman as captive and then did the whole ceremonial thing with the shaving of the head, paring the nails, and then a whole month for her to mourn, if he don't like her after he had slept with her, is she still his wife and she cannot be married to another man because he decided he didn't want her? Or she has to wait till he had to die before she can be betrothed to another man? Is there another law to this?
Right. And what that appears, that's something I have to definitely look at. Just from what I understand, that's it. That's it for her. Until that
because she did nothing else wrong except being a captive, and if he just didn't like her or it didn't work with him, it must be those other laws that are inserted into these laws that's not shown here. You know what I mean? About you can't get rid of her, she ain't do nothing.
Concubine.
Yeah. So obviously she's a concubine. You know what I mean?
That's what that sounds like to me. That's a one of the, when you take multiple wives, how they did back in those days, and they would, they would set a difference between concubine and wife, but the responsibilities were still there.
Right.
And that's why he can't sell her. You can't sell your wife.
Nope.
All right. So we were in 1 Corinthians. Did you have a comment, babe?
Probably can go to be married to somebody else because he let her go. He said at the end he humbled her.
Right, humbled her means you're humbled because you can't marry. Once you do that, it's a wrap. But let's look at that word. It's 21, Deuteronomy 21:14, and we're going to look at humbled her. Humble means ana, means to depress. Literally or figuratively, the idea of looking down or bow beating. Now, abase, afflict, answer, chasten, deal hardly. So how do you humble a woman? You humble a woman by putting in her a position where she is no longer in a position where she can be offering herself to somebody. That's often used in the sense of dealing with a virginity. Now, she had a virginity, like a new virginity, because she was being taken captive. She was property of that man. But now if you want to make her more than just a slave, you want to make her your wife, you take her out of that slavedom, and she can no longer be, passed around. You just use the slave. See, it was supposed to stop people from taking these, Canaanites or whatever and sleeping with them, and then like, no, I don't want this chick no more, so I'm selling it to the next man. He's sleeping with her. That's unrighteousness to Yahweh. So these laws were put in place, and from my understanding, and Yahshua's understanding, from what I read from him, once that is put together, that's it. That husband got to die. That's the only way there's that separation. Now, she can leave his house, but she can't go on to another man, with marriage.
Yeah, but in this case, she's being forced.
I have to study. Yeah.
In that case, she's being forced out. So, I got the same understanding as you do on it, but that right there kind of threw me for a tizzy because she ain't did nothing, but she's being forced out,
Right. So that's something we'd have to go further into and get into the law, because that is a very interesting perspective. Now, we know the laws pertaining to us, we're not supposed to take any of our own people captive.
Right.
We can't do that. So that none of that would apply to us in Hebrews, but that would apply to other nations. So we already have laws on how we not even supposed to marry other nations.
Right.
So we're not even supposed to marry out of our own tribes, much less other nations. So let's go ahead and go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And we're going to go to verse 7. We'll pick up. Did that answer your question, babe? Okay, that's good. That's why we have the you pulled out the book. That's the right thing. Pull out the big book. Look at the number. You know, the book heavy, so you know you gotta pick it up. It's one of them heavy books. Open it up, and Yahweh gets His glory because now the truth has been told unto a word, and it's not our own understanding.
Are you looking in the Strong's Concordance, or what? You got another book?
Yeah, that's the Strong's Concordance.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know you have one on eSword, and then we have the big book, you know, the big Strong's Concordance, where you can actually thumb to the Hebrew, the lexicon and read it.
Yeah.
Praise Yah, exactly. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 7, and that's that is a tremendous blessing that we have these things. Our forefathers didn't have all this. You know, they had a scroll. You know, they had word of mouth. They had to depend on the priest to give that stuff. And you know, for us to have a ability to have all these things in front of us at the drop of a dime, you think Yahweh's not going to hold us to a higher standard because we have the ability to correct ourselves and rebuke ourselves? You know, there's going to be more of a standard put on us because we were given that. Our forefathers weren't given that. So some of the sins that they did, they were unknowledgeable. Verse 7. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of Elohim, but the woman is the glory of the man. So right here, again, if you cherry pick, people will take this to be, see, you know, the man don't need to cover his head. But you have to read what thought process is it talking about. It says, but if you go up a few verses, it says, but every woman that prayeth or prophesied with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head. But then now it's contrasting with the man, saying the man indeed ought not to cover his head. For indeed he is the image and glory of Elohim, but the woman is the glory of the man. The woman needs to keep her head covered. That man needs to uncover his head when he's praying or prophesying. But see, people will take that one line and feel like, okay, that's the start of a whole new thought. No, it's not. That's why you got to read the whole thing in its context, or else it'd be contradicting itself. Why would he need to tell a man that, you know, and set all this order and go into saying why the woman needs to keep her head uncovered and then not explain why the man needs to not uncover, why the man needs to uncover his head?
That's right.
Verse 9. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. He's establishing that order. You dishonoring your husband. Verse 10. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Adonai. So when you look at that, the word woman was used. The word woman that was used in Greek, again, is G1135. Gune was that word again, a woman, specifically a wife. So it says woman here, but it's also saying specifically a wife. But every instance in here where you see woman, it could mean talking to the woman only, or it could mean talking to the wife specifically. So that's something where it's not really fully explained properly. So you have to go back into the law books and you have to see, okay, how does this apply? And then you can prove out, because we're in the stage of proving all things, because we know we've been stripped of our identity as the curse. So we got to prove all things and not just be told things, but go in there and prove these things so that we know that we're following the law according to what's written to the best of our own abilities. So verse 6 says, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. So let's go ahead and, we didn't finish that. We still need to keep going. We're going to verse 14. Verse 12. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Elohim. Judging yourselves, is it comely that a woman pray unto Elohim uncovered? So again, he's finishing that whole statement saying, this is talking about a woman praying with her head uncovered. I'm contrasting and saying the man is the head of the woman. He needs to have his head uncovered when he prays. And it finishes that statement letting you know that's what I'm talking about. Not that, man just should not supposed to ever have his head uncovered. And that's what people would do and take that and just completely mess that commandment up. Verse 14. Does not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? And verse 14 is another one that people like to cherry pick and take that one out. So let's look at what the actual definitions of the word is. It says, does not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hairs, what it says there. Let's look at the Strong's word. The Strong's word for have long hair is komeo, which is G2863, which is to wear tresses of hair, have long hair. Tresses are like designs, like little, like basically doing your hair like women. What they did back in those times, the men, and we even copied that here in the United States, the men would wear these wigs with these curls. They were called like the wigs and all that stuff back in those areas. And they would have this, you can even still see them in the pictures from the Shakespeare times, these feminine haircuts. That was not that man's hair. That's a woman. Remember, the woman grows her hair out long and does beautiful stuff with her hair as a glory unto her husband. And when she cuts it short, that's usually for an issue. That's a problem. She's being cut from something. And when it's bald, that's captivity. So there's a reason why that woman's hair was in tresses, was designed. Now, when a man has his hair designed in tresses, even nature tells you itself that that's not natural. That's feminine. That's the law. The law pertaining to that, if we go back into that law was as far as a man is not supposed to dress like a woman, and a woman is not supposed to do that pertains to a man. That's where that law comes in. It wasn't having long hair, because when you look at that, the king had long hair, but he cut his hair. Every year he cut his hair, and it weighed so much, I forgot how much it weighed. I think it weighed as much as he weighed. But he cut his hair because he wasn't going to have his hair so long, because the women didn't cut their hair, so it was ultra long. If you look at our women, it grew ultra long. So this is what it was pertaining to. But again, in English, they translate it to have long hair. But they hide it right there in plain sight, because you have the definition. You can buy the Strong's Concordance. You can read the Greek definition, and you can get the understanding of what that word means. So they can tell you, well, I put it that way, but I put the definition right there. That's on you to go read it. And that's the trick of the adversary, because that's the same thing law does. And these legal laws that they make, they have they use words that are Latin, that have different meanings in English, so that you can understand it this way. That way you have to pay somebody else to explain and interpret what is supposed to be understood by you. Verse 15. But if a woman have long hair, so again, that long hairs have tresses of hair, because she's supposed to have long hair, it is glory to her, for her hair is given for her for a covering. But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the churches of Elohim. So we understand that the woman's head is supposed to be covered. So if she's dressing, she's covering herself, she looks beautiful, she has a nice outfit, and she's doing everything to be a glory unto her husband and a glory unto Yahweh, but she don't cover her head, then it's all vanity. It's for nothing. You put on a nice dress to go out, this big nice event, and you did all, but you didn't cover your head. Especially when you're praying or prophesying, you go into a holy event where we praying and you not covered, your head ain't covered. That's vanity. Why is it vanity? It's vanity because it's empty. because it's transitory and it's unsatisfactory according to the law. And that's the bare minimum that we need to do, is according to the law, the bare minimum. So, again, this says woman, which is gune, which could mean wife or it could mean woman in general. It doesn't fully explain right here. So the best that we can do is go into the law books and see, okay, well, how can we show the law being used? So let's go into Numbers chapter 5, and we're going to look at this law of jealousy, where this covering is being removed from this woman. Numbers chapter 5. We don't want to take anything for granted. Everything that we've learned or we've been taught, we need to be able to prove this to ourselves in this Bible with Hebrew understanding, not with English understanding. If you try to study this just from the English understanding, you'll get a good understanding of this book, but there's so much more levels of obedience you will not be able to attain unto, because you're not looking at the Hebrew word that was used. The culture is not being applied according to the law the way it's written. And if you know this and you choose not to go into this, then it's vanity. It's pure vanity, because you know that you have the ability, you have the resources to go into this, but you choose not to because it's comfortable to you this way. I'm comfortable with this level of obedience. Numbers chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 11 through 31. Verse 11. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man's wife go aside and commit a trespass against him, and a man lie with her carnally, and it be hid from his eyes of her husband, from the eyes of the husband, and be kept close, and she be defiled, and there be no witness against her, neither she be taken with the manner. And why does it say all this? Neither was it this, neither was it that, neither was it this. It says that because those were the laws pertaining to if committing adultery. You got to catch them in the very act. You have to see them. There have to be witnesses, and she has to be taken in the manner so she can be put to death. So this is if you suspect that this happened, or you can't fulfill all these requirements to bring this before the judge. Verse 14. And the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be defiled. Or if the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be not defiled. So it goes both ways. Right. Even if he just got an issue because he has the spirit of jealousy, and he just thinks his wife, who's at home while he's out in the field, is sleeping with somebody else, you couldn't just bring her before and just kill her, or you couldn't put her away for adultery. You had to bring her before the priest.
But then again, it also works about he probably don't have no trust, because that spirit of jealousy also could be no trust.
Right. It could be no trust, or it could be also, on the other hand, it could be the way the woman is carrying herself.
Yeah.
She could be carrying herself in a manner that looks suspicious.
Right.
But either way, there's a spirit of jealousy, which is not a good spirit to be, because after jealousy comes rage and wrath and revenge. So
right.
And even when Yahweh is jealous, that's what comes. So these are things that are not good, but there was a righteous way to handle that, so that the woman and the man were protected from unrighteousness. Because the woman could be guilty, and the man is innocent, and he's being protected now from unrighteousness. Or the woman could be innocent, and the man is guilty because he's out there chasing, these other people's wives or whatever, and he feels like it's going to happen to him. The woman could be protected from that. So Yahweh is not a respecter of persons. Verse 15. Then shall the man bring his wife unto the priest, and he shall bring her an offering for her, the 10th of an ephah of barley meal. So he shall pour no oil upon it, nor put frankincense thereon, for it is an offering of jealousy, an offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to remembrance. So Yahweh also had a way of evening things out. Like, okay, it's going to cost you money, brother. You want to keep accusing this woman of adultery? Because you out there doing this foolishness, bring this money over here. It's going to cost you. So that man going to think every time he want to bring his wife up. He might want to, hey, I need to look at myself and what I'm doing. Verse 16. And the priest shall bring her near and set her before Yahweh. And the priest shall take holy water in an earthen vessel, and of the dust that's in the floor of the tabernacle, the priest shall take and put it into the water. And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head, and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causeth the curse. So he's taking this dust off of the floor in the tabernacle, and we understand, like a lot of places in the tabernacle, especially the sanctuary, we're taking off our shoes. So we have nothing but our feet, and our feet is where our impurities come out of. That's why we wash our feet. That's why Yahshua said, wash your feet and you're clean withal. He didn't say just wash your head. Wash your feet. You're clean withal. So when we're walking with our shoes off, because this is holy grounds, and our feet are touching, all our impurities are going on this floor. And Yahweh is saying this woman now has to drink this and this water and this holy water, and this impurities is now going in her. And if she is pure, then Yahweh is going to protect her from that impurity that she's taking. If she's not impure, we're going to see what's going to happen. So, verse 18. And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head. Wait a minute. Why is he uncovering the woman's head? Okay, so the word woman here used here is Isha, because it's Hebrew. Let me make sure before I say the wrong thing. Yeah, it's Isha. So Isha is either woman or wife. So it could be either one. So she's talking about the woman or is she talking about the wife? It don't say specifically. You have to use common sense. Okay, it's talking about, why would you bring somebody saying you're sleeping with somebody else unless she's your wife? That would be another husband's responsibility to bring her in, not you. So it's talking about wives. So we can clearly see, we know 100% sure that when it says the woman is supposed to have her head covered, we know at least the wives are supposed to have their heads covered. So we know that 100%. And here's the law pertaining to that. Because the husband has to allow the priest to remove the covering. Because the head covering was the covering that the husband gets, because the husband can... And let's continue reading. So I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and continue reading. Verse 19. And,
you got to finish reading 18.
Yeah, and the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering, and the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causeth the curse. And the priest shall charge by an oath and say unto the woman, if no man have lain with you, and if you have not gone aside to uncleanness with another instead of your husband, be you free from this bitter water that causeth the curse. But if you have gone aside to another instead of your husband, and if you be defiled, and some man have lain with you besides your husband, then the priest shall charge the woman with an oath of cursing. And the priest shall say unto the woman, Yahweh make you a curse and an oath among your people, when Yahweh doth make your thigh to rot and your belly to swell. So this woman is about to take a vow that is going to be unto her soul. This is a serious vow. This is called to her life. So a husband, according to this law, can override that vow in the moment that he hears it. But this is being removed at the moment that this husband says, I'm bringing you here for this jealousy offering. I'm allowing you to remove my wife's head covering, so I'm stepping aside. I am no longer being her covering. Whatever vow she makes, I cannot override that vow because I have pre-consented to this vow that she's about to make. You know what she's doing. The only thing he can do is stop her from making that vow. That's all he can do, because she make that vow. That's it. He's already removed himself. He's already consented to this. Verse 21. Then the priest shall charge the woman with an oath of cursing, and the priest shall say unto the woman, Yahweh make you a curse and an oath among your people, when Yahweh doth make your thigh to rot and your belly to swell. And this water that causes the curse shall go into your bowels to make your belly to swell and your thigh to rot. And the woman shall say, Amen, amen. So let it be it, so be it, is what she would be saying. She's co-signing that oath. Verse 23. And the priest shall write these curses in a book, and he shall blot them out with the bitter water. And he shall cause the woman to drink the bitter water that causeth the curse, and the water that causeth the curse shall enter into her and become bitter. Then the priest shall take the jealousy offering out of the woman's hand, and shall wave the offering before Yahweh, and offer it upon the altar. And the priest shall take a handful of the offering, even the memorial thereof, and burn it upon the altar, and afterwards shall cause the woman to drink the water. And it would be fitting that she would have to make an offering, because she's now making herself unclean, taking all this dirty stuff off the floor. So there has to be an atonement for that. That's a sin. She's defiling her temple. So there had to be an offering for that as well. Verse 27. Verse 26, and the priest shall take a handful of the offering, even the memorial thereof, and burn it upon the altar, and afterwards shall cause the woman to drink the water. And when he hath made her to drink the water, then it shall come to pass that if she be defiled and have done trespass against her husband, that the water that causes her shall enter into her and become bitter, and her belly shall swell, and her thighs shall rot, and the woman shall be a curse among the people. And if the woman be not defiled, but be clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive seed. This is the law of jealousy when a wife goes aside to another instead of her husband and is defiled. And it's interesting right there, that woman has to go through all that tribulation and that, being falsely accused, that if she puts her trust in Yahweh and the husband puts his trust in Yahweh, that Yahweh is going to deal with this matter. I can't prove anything, but I trust Yahweh. Yahweh said, this woman going to conceive seed.
Right.
So it's strange. We're peculiar when we follow these type of customs. Because the law say here, you just divorce your wife, cut off. Hey, there's irreconcilable differences, because I think she's cheating, she don't think she's cheating. Hey, we can't reconcile this. And you go about your way. But that's the whole point. This is how we become a set-apart people. We have to be holy, set apart. We become set apart when we do these strange, peculiar things to these nations. It's not strange to us, but it's strange to the other nations. So let's go more into this apparel. Let's go into fringes. Because, we hear a lot about fringes, and we've been taught a lot, but we need to really get into this understanding of what the law is and why are we even wearing fringes. And why should we wear fringes, or should we even wear fringes? Is it even that serious? So Numbers chapter 15, and we're going to read 37 through 41.
You're not finishing to 31?
No, I didn't finish that. Let's go back. Verse 29. This is the law of jealousies, when a wife go aside to another instead of her husband and is defiled, or when the spirit of jealousy cometh upon him, and he be jealous over his wife, and shall set the woman before Yahweh, and the priest shall execute upon her all this law. Then shall the man be guiltless from iniquity, and the woman shall bear her iniquity. So we even have to be careful on how we try to accuse our wives or joke around or make these things, because there's certain laws that we got to follow. Yahweh take that seriously, because there's supposed to be a death penalty when a woman commits adultery. Even the word adultery itself is pertaining to sleeping with a married woman. He could have been sleeping with a married man as adultery too. Yeah. So he takes that very serious by trying to accuse one of his daughters of adultery. So, like I said, we're going to go into Numbers chapter 15 and read 37 through 41, and we're going to look at the law of these fringes.
Numbers 15, you said?
Yes, sir. Numbers 15 and verses 37 through 41. And fringes, we see people wear them. Some of us have worn them. We hear about them. We've been taught a certain thing, but at the end of the day, it's a commandment that is said for us to keep. And if we're going to keep the commandment, just like any other commandment, we need to keep it to the best of our abilities, our own individual abilities that we can do. That is obedience. We are in captivity. We're not in our land. We didn't grow up in the culture of Hebrew. We're learning this. We're setting ourselves apart from Babylonian culture. But like in any commandment, the greatest commandment is love Yahweh with all your heart, your strength, your might, your soul. So this is how we need to approach every commandment. And we also understand that the spiritual commandment is the most important thing. That's what Yahshua came to show us, what we were missing, the spirit of the law. But you can't get to the spirit of the law without understanding the letter of the law. Numbers 15 and verse 37. Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, that they put upon the fringe the borders of a riband of blue. So this is another one of these things that they hid right in plain sight. Because when we read it, it reads a certain way. It says, make fringes in the borders of your garments throughout your generations, and that they put upon the fringe of borders a riband of blue. So we thinking, ribbons of blue, and we put these fringes on, on our garments, on the borders. But it's very important that we understand that we're reading this in English. We need to go into the Hebrew. Let's look at every definition of the important aspects of this law. So, first of all, it says, speak unto the children of Israel. The Hebrew word used here is bane, or ben, son. Every time you see that word children, you're going to see son. All these commandments were given unto the children of Israel. And it would have said, Ben Israel. But we understand that the women have to keep commandments too. That's why a woman could be put to death, because there's a commandment that the woman should not, you can't sleep with a married woman. So obviously she got to keep commandments too. So this commandment that we're about to get into is given unto the children of Israel. Fringes apply to men and women, unless it's going to tell you specifically that it doesn't, according to this law. Okay, so it says, speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes. So the word fringes is tzitzit, which is 86734. And it says a floral or wing-like projection. That is a forelock of hair, a tassel, fringe lock. So it's giving you a description. It's a floral or wing-like projection. So we understand that that's what the fringes is. So we look at everything that everybody calls as fringes. Does it look floral? Does it look wing-like? That's the first thing we need to ask. So that's what the tzitzit is. That's the fringe that is the commandment we're supposed to wear. Then it further goes in and says, in the borders. So we understand what a border is. So let's see what the Hebrew word is. Kanaf. It's H3671. Kanaf. An edge or extremity, especially of a bird or army, a wing. So wait a minute. We just said wing-like projections, fringes, and for tzitzit, a floral or wing-like projection. And now borders says an edge or extremity, specifically of a bird or army, a wing of a garment or bed of clothing, a flap, a quarter, a pinnacle. So this is the outermost portion of your garment. That is the border. And it says, make fringes in your borders. So the fringes need to be in your borders of your garments, according to this Hebrew understanding of this. And it says, of their garments. Garments is beged, which is a covering, that is clothing, also treachery or pillage, apparel. So this is the covering that covers our body. So this is the outerwear, our robe. This wouldn't be our breeches. Our breeches are under us. Our pants are under us. You don't tuck your shirt inside your pants because now your loins aren't covered. So your garments are your outerwear, your covering that goes over your breeches. This is why you don't put fringes on your breeches, because they're supposed to be made in the borders of your garments, of your beged, your covering. And this is supposed to be throughout your generation. So this never ended. This never changed. Not one jot or one tittle will be removed from this law till all be fulfilled. And it says, and it goes further, and they put upon the fringe, they put upon the tzitzit of the borders a ribband, remember borders is canap of the border, a riband of blue. So we see riband. So I thought ribbon, first thing I saw. The Hebrew word for riband is H6616, pathil. And pathil is twine, bound, bracelet, lace, line. So this riband, which needs to be in the borders, the outermost edge of it, in which the outermost edge has the fringes made out of it, you're supposed to have a riband of blue. But it gets deeper. So I see blue. I'm reading blue. I'm reading blue in this in English. Let's go to the Hebrew word that was used. The Hebrew word that was used for blue was tekeles, which is H8504. Probably 487827, the cerulean muscle that is the color violet.
Purple.
So it's telling you to have a riband of blue, but it says violet. They hit it right there in plain sight.
Violet.
So we're supposed to have violet. So this border, this edge, this riband of blue that is supposed to be over this border, in which the fringes hang out, which are the outermost edge of us, is supposed to have a twine of blue. Not a ribbon, a twine of blue. And this blue is really violet.
Right. I see it.
So this is an opportunity this is wicked. This is an opportunity for the adversary to say, it's right there. You didn't read the definition. You know this wasn't written in English. It was written in Hebrew. We gave you the Hebrew definition. It say that is the color violet. You know violet is purple. Violet is purple.
Right, violet wrapped with blue.
Right. Violet is purple. Blue is a different color. Ultraviolet is purple.
That's right.
Blue
and those
is
blue and
blue.
purple are in the same colors. They make the color.
Right.
Blue and red make purple.
Blue. Right. You need to add to blue to make purple.
That's right.
So this is something that, okay, if you didn't know any better and you're wearing this with blue, you're doing the best you knew at the time. Yahweh didn't reveal this to you. But if it puts it in your heart for you or for your teacher to seek the truth about it, and you go in it and you read it and you verify it, it's right there. This is the Hebrew definition. Then now you know better. So now if you put on this fringe with blue, and well, not even the fringe, the color of the fringe wasn't the matter. The color of the fringe is the color of whatever your garment is. But this border, this canap, a riband of blue, has to be that color. So this is part of Yahweh. This is why you have to pray for forgiveness and have mercy on people. Because teachers have taught us things, they taught the best that they knew. You know, we learned things from our fathers, they taught us the best they knew. But we're doing all kind of sins and all kind of vanity that we didn't even know about. That we were taught. And we're correcting other people and looking down at people for things that we didn't even know better. This is why you can't look down at people. You have to be a sharer of information. We share information. This is the best that I have, brother. Here it is. It's for you to prove this to yourself and to rebuke me if I'm wrong. But if we have the perspective of what I have is right, it don't matter what you have. I don't care what you have. When somebody presents you with something else, you're not going to prove it. You're going to attack the person because you don't want to find out you're wrong. Right. And that's being haughty. That's not being humble. And Yahweh's not going to give his spirit and retain his spirit with a vessel that won't humble himself because he can't give it to you. He can't send a serpent to you to give it to you. So that was breaking in that definition. And we go to verse 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, a tzitzit, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahweh and do them, and that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you use to go a-whoring, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your Elohim. How many commandments did he say do? All his commandments.
613 commandments?
He said that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Point blank, that is a commandment. We are supposed to do it. Yahshua didn't fulfill that. He didn't come here and change that. He didn't say, hey, take this. This is my fringe. It'd be for you. So these are things that were commanded upon us. The spirit of the law by far is the most important thing, to keep these commandments on your mind and your heart and your soul, to always remember these everywhere you go. That is the spirit of the law. That trumps everything. At minimum, you need to do that. But now if you are wanting to bring yourself to a better level of obedience, then you need to wear the fringe, and you need to wear it according to the way Yahweh says it, because these are uniforms. And this was given to all the children of Israel. So that's what that says there on this fringe, and we looked at some of these commandments about it, but what people don't understand, there's more to that commandment. That whole commandment isn't given there. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 12. There's more explanation of that commandment that we have to keep. That's just explaining the fringe, how the fringe is supposed to be made. But the fringe is, and our wear has to be also worn a certain way. Deuteronomy 22, and we're going to go at verse 12. And the whole thing about that is, you have to read this thing in its entirety. There's a lot of commandments that come together to make one commandment, honoring the Sabbath. That's one commandment. But there's all these other commandments that you have to be put together to fulfill that commandment of honoring the Sabbath. Just like loving your neighbor like yourself. That ain't just, hey, you just kiss them. You have to do all these things. You have to act in a righteous manner, and you have to keep all these laws pertaining to your brother, your sister, your neighbor, to fulfill that commandment. It's the same thing with all these other commandments. So Deuteronomy 22 and verse 12 says, you shall make you fringes upon the four quarters of your vesture, wherewith you cover yourself. Here's another one they hid in plain sight. This is why that Ashkenazi is probably wearing those things hanging on the four corners of their thing, those prayer shawls that they have, because they read it here in English. But if we go into the Hebrew definition, this is wickedness. The word fringes isn't even the same word. It's not even tzitzit they're talking about right here. We go into this word where it says the fringes. It's H1434, which is Gedil. This isn't even the same word. This is thread. That is a tassel, a festoon. This is in the sense of twisting is what it says. So you shall make twistings upon the four quarters of your vesture. The tzitzit needs to be on the border of your garment. That means all the way around your garment, not just the four corners. And that needs to have a kanaf, a riband of blue, which we know is violet. So this is additional. You have to now have twistings on the four quarters of your vesture, where you covereth yourself. Again, you don't cover yourself with your breeches. Your breeches are covered by your shirt, your garment, whatever you wear, your robe that covers you. So this is further definitions. And it says on the four quarters of your vestures. So to wear this properly, you have to have your covering, your outer garment that covers your pants, that covers your loins. Then on the outermost portion, the kanaf is a border. You need to have twistings, a riband of what they call blue, which is violet, a violet border around the top, and as your fringes, which are the flaps, the wings, because when you look at a flower, you see flaps. They're even flaps. They go all the way around. Little cuttings, like if you would cut it with scissors all the way around. That's what your fringes look like. That's what the flaps of a wing, if you look at the flaps on a wing, that's what that looks like. Wing-like, floral-like projections are cuttings that are at the bottom of your outermost bottom of your garments. And above that is that border of purple, of violet. Then, in addition, you have four quarters of that outer garment. You're supposed to have twistings. Now, it didn't say what color these twistings have to be. So these twistings can be whatever color you want. What the importance is that you have these twistings on the four quarters. And it says fringes here, so you're thinking that that's what the fringes are. But it gives you a different Hebrew word, gedil, letting you know twisting. The flaps aren't twistings. That's the tzitzit. That's a different word. And this is all Hebrew. It's not like this is Greek and Hebrew, like it could be the same thing. So I'd have to show, if you were here, I could show you the pictures. When you look at the ancient Hebrews, how they dressed, they had the robes. And at the bottom of the robes, they had a border, a clear border, which would probably be purple, violet, according to the commandment, the kanaf. And then you saw the little cuttings at the bottom, even flaps all the way down, vertical flaps all the way down. Like when you go through a car wash and you see those flaps, it had even flaps together all the way around the bottom, all around their garments. And you watch, those are how the ancient Hebrews dressed. So those were the ones that were keeping the commandments. But now when you look at Ashkenazi, they don't wear it that way. Ashkenazi wear those little, they put a shawl over their shirt, and they tie things to their belt, and they do all those things. And I've done all that foolishness. But I did that out of trying to be obedient, but lacking understanding. But you do that as a child, but when you grow up and you become adult, you put away childish things. So once you learn that, okay, that's not right, that's not the right way to do it according to the best resources that I have, which is this Bible and these Strong's Concordance and this Hebrew definition, then we correct those things. But if you continue doing those things in a manner you know is insufficient, that is unsatisfactory, that is empty, then you're doing it out of vanity. So you don't need to do it. They need to focus on the spirit of the law, or you need to do it to the best of your ability and say, well, here's my best attempt. Yahweh, I don't fully have it yet. I wasn't, I'm learning it. Here's my best attempt. Now you're not doing this out of a vain spirit just because I want to look like I'm doing it right. You're doing it because you're trying to complete this commandment to the best of your ability. So that's the fringes. Now there's further clarification on what we need to be wearing and how our apparel needs to be. No mixing of fabric. We just go to Deuteronomy chapter 22, and just go back verse 11. Just go up one verse. You shall not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. So if you wear your outer covering and you are trying to dress according to this law and you mix in garments, then it's vanity. It may look very nice, it cover your loins and do all that, but you mix in fabrics, woolen and linen together. That's vanity. That's the understanding of vanity. Not, oh my goodness, look at this sister. She has on a beautiful outfit, her head covered, she has her fringes on the bottom. She's, with her husband. Oh man, why she trying to show out? She just want to look nice. She's keeping that commandment. If she looks nice, she looks nice. As long as in her heart she was trying to glorify her husband and her Elohim, then she's not being vain. She is not unsatisfactory because she's keeping the law. She's not empty because Yahweh is in her heart. Respect for her husband is in her heart. She's just beautiful. Now, because you weren't able to produce something put together that well, that's on you. You should admire the sister and say, hey, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, sister. And how did you do that? I like how you did that. But what we are taught in these cults and in these groups and these churches, that's vanity. It's vanity if you do it. But when they do it, it's okay. No. We need to be concerned with what's vanity to Yahweh. What is unacceptable to him. What's empty to him. What's transitory to him. That's how we need to focus at this word and make sure our works, our appearance, our words are not vanity. And your word is vanity when you don't practice what you preach. So again, let's go back into 1 Peter, Deuteronomy 22, and just jump back up to verse 5. Going back into the commandment. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do are abomination to Yahweh, your Elohim. Even when you look at that, we look at and I'm drilling into everything. I'm trying everything and proving everything. I'm not taking anything for granted. Even when you look at where it says a woman, verse 5, shall not wear that pertaineth to a man. Look at the word wear. The Hebrew word was haya, H1961. To exist, that is be or become, come to pass. So it doesn't mean wear. It means she shouldn't exist to that which pertains unto a man. She shouldn't be doing that which pertains to a man. She shouldn't be setting herself up that which pertains to a man. But it says here, in English, she shall not wear.
Right,
now,
they kind of, how you say, shorten the true meaning of it.
Exactly.
One thing instead it was many things.
Exactly. So it's shortening that meaning. Now, if the woman is dressing like a man, she's doing that which pertaineth unto a man. That's not right.
That's right.
You trying to be a man, you cross-dressing. So, but because people wanted to use that word to just separate, it's a target for an agenda. I just want the woman to wear a skirt. I don't want her wearing something because I'm jealous. I don't want nobody looking at my wife. So I'm going to take the law and just narrow it down. But I want the woman to be able to preach and to stand up here and do this and do that. I want her to be able to do this because it makes me money. But I don't want her to do this. This is why we can't just go by what we were taught. You have to study to show thyself approved. We need to try and prove everything. Don't take anything for granted. It's so much deeper than just wearing. She shouldn't exist as a man. Haya. Like what they used like to use, Ahaya. They like to say that's the Most High's name because it's of I exist. I am who I exist or whatever. So, and it says, neither shall a man put on woman's garment. So it's being specific with the man. You should not put on a woman's garment, and woman isha. And garment, again, is your covering, whatever you cover yourself with. Your pants don't cover you. Verse 6.
Hold on, brother. You know, that's funny. You know, I'm glad you said that because this is what the world of acting, entertainment, and so forth has done to majority of our brothers. I mean, if they want to make it in this world, they have to let these false Jews put them in a woman's outfit and make them look just like a woman.
Exactly.
And every move. I mean, if they want to be big, if they, you know, let's say they career is to rise, they have to, how you say, disrespect themselves. And they have no idea that they truly are disrespecting themselves in more in an area that they have no clue.
Yeah, you disrespected Yahweh. Yahweh don't want his wife dressing up like you know, like a woman when I have him in a state of a masculinity position over a carnal woman. It's the same thing. If he want his wife to dress in this manner, Yahweh is a spirit. He's not a man or a woman. So there's no sex being, it has to be this kind of way because I'm a man and she's a woman. No, Yahweh said my wife need to dress like this. And both of you are my wives, a masculine and a female. The masculine wife needs to wear like this. The female wife needs to wear like this. And she needs to be respectful to her husband. And her husband needs to be respectful to his husband, Yahweh, and show his wife how to be respectful unto her husband by being obedient to the laws. So all these things were put in place. And it's also said that the man is not even supposed to be effeminate. He's not even supposed to act like a woman.
That's
so
right.
Not only dress like a woman, he could dress like a man, but he act like a woman. He being effeminate, that's out of order. Yahweh said, no, that's not how the man is supposed to carry himself. So let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're going to deal with that whole, you know, what we've been taught in these churches, in these congregations, and by parents and different people is, adorning, you know, the woman, she should not adorn herself in this kind of manner. 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9. And we hear that, you know, a woman is supposed to adorn herself and this, that, and the other. And so some people will use that verse to say, oh, the woman can't dress nice. She got to dumb herself down and look like this, and she got to, you know, be base looking. How is she glorifying her husband like that?
Right.
You know,
so the thing that they're missing a mistake on, she's supposed to dress beautifully, comfortably, and how you say chastely, but she's also supposed to have her head covered. And
right.
She's still a very beautiful woman.
Glory unto and beauty unto Yahweh.
Right.
How is that glory? How is that glory unto Yahweh by you giving your worst, not your best? You're not putting on your best for him. You're putting on your worst. You can put on your best when you go do some carnal stuff. That's okay. But when you come before Yahweh, you're not supposed to put on your best? That's backwards. How are you glorifying and beautifying Yahweh? But then the individual that tells you that tries to glorify Yahweh and be a beauty to Yahweh. Why is it okay for them to do it and not okay for you? That's not according to his law. That's placing yourself above somebody. It doesn't have, now if you're wearing the coat and the lace holiness unto Yahweh, the thing that the high priest was supposed to wear, the sons of Aaron, that's a different story. You're now stepping into another job that's not yours. That wasn't given to you. That's a whole different story. You're stepping out of order. So 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1 through 9. One thing that we want to always do in this word is trust nothing, prove everything. The word tells us to do that. 1 Peter chapter 3, and we're going to start at verse 1. Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also be without the word, won by the conversations of the wives. So again here, just even that breaking down, getting into the Greek, it says you wives. They use it again, gune. Likewise, you women, be in subjection to your own husbands. Not subjection to every man. Not woman be subjection to every man. Be in subjection to your husband, your own husband. So you got to really go in here and make sure that we're reading this thing properly. So, and it says that if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word, be won by the conversation of the wives. Here's another wicked translation. They use conversation, so you thinking they be won over by your wife. Your wife going to go talk this man out of wickedness. No, she's not. It says the behavior of the wives. Anastrophe. G391 is the Greek word. Verse 2. While they behold your chaste behavior coupled with fear, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold and of putting on of apparel. So people like to use that and say, oh, well, you're not supposed to do that. You ain't supposed to plait your hair, and you're not supposed to be wearing jewelry and putting on this nice apparel, because that's, you're adorning yourself. That's the English understanding that we've been taught or we've thought. But let's look at the Greek word that was used here. Adorning. Adorning is G2889, cosmos. Wait a minute, cosmos? It says adorning right here. All of us know what cosmos is world. Cosmos is world. G2889, cosmos. From the base, G2865, orderly arrangement. That is decoration. By implication, the world in a wide or narrow sense, including its inhabitants, literally or figuratively. So now when you look at the commandment, there's no such commandment that a woman cannot plait her hair or that a woman cannot wear gold. In fact, she was to wear those things. The priest wears these things, putting on of apparel. Was she supposed to be naked? No, she's supposed to put on apparel. So we know there's no such law. So now applying this word adorning, whose world, her importance, let it not be that of the outwardly world of plaiting of hair, wearing of gold, or putting on of apparel. Let her not be a fashionista. Well, her whole concern on the Shabbat or wherever she goes is how she looks. She's not concerned with dressing according to the law. She's not concerned with being a virtuous woman according to Proverbs and how the virtuous woman carries herself. She's not concerned of how she can be a helpmeet. She's only concerned about looking beautiful on the outward. That's what that means. That doesn't automatically mean because a woman dresses beautiful or she wears makeup, she's adorning herself with this outward adorning. You got to see how she walks. You got to see the fruits of her deeds. You got to see the words that come out of her mouth to see if her world is only about beauty. So she's keeping all these laws. She's not being vain when it comes to her dress because her dress is according to the law. She's not insufficient. But when she opens her mouth and talks foolishness, she's not adorning herself with the things that we're about to read about in verse 4. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price. So if she's all loud and everybody has to be paying attention to her and she always got to be talking, their attention always got to be about her, then that's not quiet, meek spirit. Now her adorning is outward adorning, because she did all that to make sure her outward adorning was sufficient and not vain, but then her inward hidden man is not of a meek and quiet spirit. She's not adorning herself with the hidden man of the heart. which is in the sight of Elohim a great price. Verse 5, for after this manner in the old time the holy women also, the set-apart women, who trusted in Elohim, adorned themselves, made their world within themselves, being subjection unto their own husbands. They made their husbands and being a helpmeet, their world, which includes their family. This is what the woman did, the set-apart woman do, because that's what sets you apart. Because every other woman in this world is concerned with herself, getting her hair done, looking nice, going out, hanging out in clubs, buying nice purses, Facebook chatting, looking at old boyfriends, doing all this stuff. That's what the woman of this world does, being unhappy because she's seeing all these other people doing these things. Not being adored with, hey, look at my child just graduated. My child knows the 12 tribes. My house is clean. My husband is fed. Our bills is paid. I'm helping other sisters and other brothers. I'm doing my work. I'm increasing in this word. I'm going to Bible study. I'm learning. That's the hidden man in the heart. But again, verse 6, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. So this is how you make yourself a daughter of Abraham. When you do well. And how you do well? You do according to these commandments. Verse 7, likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers not be hindered. So the husband has to carry himself. How can you be one flesh? And the husband carries himself with, he's outwardly adorned, but inwardly he's lukewarm. How is that going to glorify Yahweh? That's a body that has schisms. You're supposed to be one flesh, so it needs to be both of y'all. Both of y'all need to be adorned well. How that look when the husband, he's dapper, he clean, he has no vanity when it comes to his appearance, but his wife looked like crap. His wife, barely got something to cover her body. But he's a priest, so it's all about him. That's insufficient. Likewise, dwell with them according to knowledge. Give honor unto your wife. How are you giving honor unto your wife? When you got your wife looking base, or you got your wife living in substandards. You're not giving honor to your wife. You got your room decked out with your wife, her little room where she do her stuff look like crap. So your prayers be not hindered. You're not taking care of your wife if your prayers are hindered. Verse 8. Finally, be of you one mind, having compassion one another. Love as brethren, be pitiful and be courteous. So, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called, that you shall inherit a blessing. So you don't render evil for evil. You set yourself apart. That is what Israel is supposed to do, set yourself apart. You punch any one other man in the street, he coming after you. You disrespect any man in the street, he coming after you. You talk bad about any man in the street, he coming after you. You're not setting yourself apart by doing the same things that they do. So, again, we looked at this outward adorning, this meaning of adorning, which means don't make your world of the outward world. Don't make these base things of the world, these carnal things of the world, your world. It needs to be a spiritual world within you. So, because we didn't want to follow that, we know what's going to happen after that. Isaiah chapter 47. Because we want to make this adorning an outward adorning, and we don't want to deal with the inward adorning, then we're naked on the inside. Yeah, we're covered on the outside, but we're naked on the inside. And we all know what happened. Let's read about it. Isaiah chapter 47.
Okay, you stopping at 10? 12?
Yeah, we stopped at verse 9.
All right.
And we're going into Isaiah chapter 47. We're going to read that whole chapter. And this is going over the fact that, okay, you're supposed to adorn yourselves of the hidden man, the inner self. But we boasted ourselves against our brothers and against other nations by adorning ourselves in the outward, but inside we were filthy. We were naked on the inside. We had no wedding garment, which we're going to get into. Isaiah chapter 47, and we're going to start at verse 1. Verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind them. Uncover your locks. Make bare your leg. Uncover the thighs. Pass over the rivers. So uncover your locks. Why are they being uncovered? They're being uncovered because they were covered. Verse 3. Your nakedness shall be uncovered, yes. Your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet you as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit you silent, and get you in darkness, O daughter of Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into your hand, and you did show them no mercy. Upon the ancient has you very heavily laid your yoke. And you said it, I shall be a lady forever. So that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did you remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this. You that are given to pleasure, that dwelleth carelessly, that saith in your heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in the perfection for the multitude of your sorceries and for your great abundance of your enchantments. For you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, none seeth me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it hath perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon you. You shall not know from where it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon you. You shall not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Stand now with your enchantments and with your multitude of sorceries, where you have labored from your youth. If so, you shall be able to profit. If so, be you mayest prevail. And when you talk about all these enchantments and these sorceries, witchcraft. The word pharmacy comes from pharmakeia, the Greek word, which is like witchcraft. And when you force people into doing things by tricking them into doing things, by saying things like, the Sabbath day is Sunday. You're tricking people into keeping the Sabbath on a Sunday, which is the first day of the week. These are witchcraft. These are sorceries. Right. And this is what the nations have done to us, and this is what they've taught us to do to our own people. Stand now with your enchantments, and this is Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 12. Stand now with your enchantments and with the multitude of your sorceries, wherein you have labored from your youth, and America has done this from the beginning. If so, you shall be able to profit. And they've done this for the profit. If so, you mayest prevail. So they're trying to do this so that they can prevail. You are wearied in your multitude of your counsels. Let now your astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from these things that shall come upon you. Go ahead and let let NASA save you from this. Let Cleo, the fortune teller. Let your horoscope tell you that you're gonna die today. Verse 14. Behold, they shall be as stubble. Fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you whom you have labored, even your merchants from your youth, and you shall wander every one in their quarter, none shall save you. So your nakedness is going to be exposed. You are going to be burnt. So we're going to go into Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 8, and we went over this garment and this physical aspect of how our uniform as servants of Yahweh needs to be. Because we are a kingdom of priests, we are a nation of priests, we are the children of Israel. These commandments were given to the children. It says Bane, Ben, but it's talking to all of us. Because even when you look in the definition of Bane and Ben, and matter of fact, I'm going to pull up that definition so we don't take anything for granted. We're going to look up Bane. which is Ben, while we are Ben Israel, we're a son of Israel. We are the children of Israel. And if you look at H1121, which is Ben or Bane, it says from H1129, a son as a builder of family name in the widest sense of the literal and figurative relationship, including grandson, subject, nation, quality, or condition, etc. So it's talking about a whole nation, one appointed, one born, branch, came up in, child, common, daughter. Daughter is in this description. Firstborn, very fruitful, nephew, steward, stranger. It's got all these definitions in here. And just the fact that it has stranger in here. Because once they cleaved on to this culture, they were allowed into this culture. Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 8. And we're just going to read that one verse, and we're going to see why this is so important to get our dress code proper. It's not about vanity. It's not about just being empty or being insufficient in our acts. It's about being sufficient, being satisfactory in our dress code. So Zephaniah chapter 1, and we're just going to read verse 8. And it says, and it shall come to pass in the day of Yahweh's sacrifice that I will punish the princes, and the princes are, if you look at the Hebrew definition of princes, the princes are the rulers, the head person, the captain is Tsar, H8269. That's why they have the Tsar over there in Russia, the Ashkenaz. A head person, a captain, a chief, a general, a governor, a keeper, a lord, master, prince, ruler, steward. So he's saying in the day of Yahweh sacrifice that I will punish the rulers and the king's children. So they purposely put that in there to confuse you, the princes and the king's children, because we understand that the prince is the king's children. That's what we always thought. But it's giving you a separation. And the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. So when Yahweh's coming back, he's talking about alien, foreigner, outlandish, nokri, H5237. When he's coming back for his sacrifice, those of us that are dressed in strange clothing, this is who he's coming back for, to destroy. In that same day, let's go to verse 9. In that same day also will I punish all those that leap off the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And when we see that word violence, oh, well, I ain't kill nobody. Well, you look at the Hebrew word H2555, kamas, or kamas, violence by implication, wrong, by monetary, unjust gain. So when you are unjustly making some kind of gain by doing somebody else wrong, or by deceitfully doing things to your brothers, that's violence. Those are the people he's coming back to punish. You don't have to physically punch somebody in the face. And this is why they use these words to diminish the full understanding of this word, so that you don't get a better understanding of being obedient, just so they can control you. That's all that was for. So we understand from the physical perspective, all those dressed in that foreign attire he's coming for. But we also understand that these things are both ways, letter of the law and spirit of the law. This spiritual dress, this spiritual covering, this spiritual garment. Let's go to Matthew 22. And we're going to read about the spiritual garment at this wedding feast, this wedding garment. We know the wedding garment is the spirit. So when he comes on the day to do his sacrifice, if you got this foreign spirit, you still carrying this Babylon in your heart. You still carrying this Christianity in your heart. You don't want to get rid of these man-made ways. Which on the outside, you look like a Hebrew. That's vanity. Because on the inside, you carry this foreign apparel. And that's who he's coming to deal with. Matthew 22, and we're going to start at verse 1. All of this is vanity that we're trying to deal with. What good is it for us to appear righteous on the outside, but in Yahweh's eyes, he's looking at us like these vain creatures? This is my servant. Who's more vain than my servant? Who's more blind than my servant? It is like we said, like the sister Aaliyah said at the beginning, praise Yahweh we have access to these things. So we can not be vain. So we can be satisfactory in not only in our dress code, but in our hearts.
Praise God.
Matthew 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 21. Verse 1. And Yahshua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and set forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. But they made light of it, and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. So one went back to his farm, where he went back to doing his works and everything like that. You know, because he's doing his works. And the other one went back to his merchandise, all the things that he can sell and make money for. They made light of it because, oh, I'm invited. I know I'm invited. I feel like, hey, I'm justified because I got an invitation. So you can't tell me nothing. I got an invitation. I'm there. But I get to it when I feel like it. Verse 6. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. So this remnant, and remember these remnant, a lot of times when they're talking about the remnant, they're talking about Israel. And this remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. The prophets. They took these prophets that invited them to this marriage feast, and they entreated them spitefully, and they slew them. They killed off all the prophets, all the servants of Yahweh. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth. And he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then he said to the servants, the wedding is ready. The day which were bidden were not worthy. I came to you first. You weren't worthy. Go now you therefore into the highways and find as many as you shall find and bid them to the marriage. Go unto these Gentiles, these other Israelites that are living in these other countries that are not living according to these laws, these northern tribes that were cut off, and all these proselytes and everybody else that want to attain unto this word. Go unto them and bid them to the marriage. So that these servants went unto the highways and gathered together all as many as that were found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. So now you got all these people that are hearing this word now, that are being bid to this wedding feast. They're given an opportunity to attain unto salvation. Verse 11, and when the king came in to see the guests, he saw that there was a man which had not a wedding garment. And he saith unto him, friend, how camest you in hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. He was speechless because he should have known better. If he didn't know any better, he would have been like, I didn't know I was supposed to have a wedding garment, and nobody told me nothing. You know, I thought, we this, that, and the other. No, he thought because, hey, these people over here, these Jews, the Yehudim in Israel, they were given this word. And they were given this invitation, and they didn't care. They messed it up. They even killed some of the servants, the prophets. Now it's come to me, these northern tribes and these other nations that want to cleave on to the skirt, the hem of a Jew. Now they come to these people. Now they feel like they're boasting against the branch. So they're boasting against the branch. They feel like they can come any kind of way to this word. So they're speechless now that they realize that's not acceptable. And verse 13, then said the king to the servant, bind them hand and foot, and take them away and cast them into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. So many are called into this. We were called into this, but only a few are going to be chosen, because only a few are going to be obedient. And only a few of those obedient are Yahweh going to be merciful and cleanse them of their sins, because even the obedient are sinning. Verse 15. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him and his talk. Matthew 22 and verse 16. And they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Master, we know that you are true, and teaches the way of Elohim in truth. Neither carest you for any man, for you regard as not the person of men. Tell us, therefore, what thinkest you? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? But Yahshua perceived their wickedness and said, Why temptest you me, you hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought him a penny. And he said to them, Whose in this image and superscription? They said unto them, Caesar. Then saith he unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto Elohim the things that are Elohim. So there's things that are worldly that belong to this world, and the things that belong to Elohim. These things of this world are vanity. It's vain. It's insufficient. You can't offer that to Yahweh. So when you're making your offerings unto Yahweh, you don't want your money. You don't want your dollar bill. He wants those spiritual things, those spiritual offerings, those treasures that are from heaven. That's what he wants. Render those things which belong to Elohim. Now, congregations don't run on air. So on Pentecost and other things, you're making free will offerings. And this offering went unto the priest. So you're making the offering unto the priest, but they're going unto Yahweh, so you're doing both. But now that you don't have these priests, we don't have these Levites, then the letter of the law and the spirit of the law is doing these spiritual offerings unto Yahweh. Anything else is addition, is additional, is extra credit. If you're part of a congregation, give some money. That congregation needs to be ran. The priest can't pay all the bills on his own. You give unto them. That's free will, and you give according to what Yahweh gave you, but that's not what's getting you to salvation. What's getting you to salvation is that spiritual offering that you're making unto Yahweh. That's where the focus is supposed to be. Don't make your adornment of these offerings the outward things, the things that you can see. I'm going to pay him $100, so I feel like I'm good. No. What about how you're treating your brother and sister? Are you going to your brother that you think has aught against you and talking to that brother? Or you just say, hey, I'm just going to give him some money. So, we good. So it's not, Yahshua said, hey, like you said to those Pharisees, they're giving that say, well, I give tithes of mint and cumin, this, that, and other. They say, yeah, but judgment and mercy, you should have been doing that first, then do the other. So he didn't say don't tithe, don't do these things. He said, no, there's an order. And if you do it out of order, it's unacceptable to Yahweh. You don't get credit just for doing it. It has to be according to his order, or else you're doing it how you want to do it. You're glorifying yourself because you're making yourself a God. Verse 22. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. Matthew 22 and 23. The same day came unto him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked them, saying, Master, Moshe said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall be of the 7? For they all had her. Verse 9. Yeshua answered and said unto them, you do err, not knowing the Scriptures, nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Elohim in heaven. So they neither marry. When you marry, you are consummating that marriage, which is knowing your wife, having sex. Or given in marriage, you're given up so that your hymen can be broken and your your token of virginity can be taken. So it's saying that in heaven, the angels aren't male, female. They're not giving or taking each other like that. They're not having sex. So they're not having sex with humans. If they're not having sex with each other, 2 spiritual creatures, they're definitely not having sex with humans. Verse 31. For as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which spoken unto you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. So again, Yahweh is about these living things. These spiritual things are living. These things that are on earth, they die. So we can't adorn ourselves and be all about, make our world just things about that are going to die. a garment that's going to eventually wither away, that's eventually going to, get dusty or be worn out too much. It needs to be that inner apparel, that inner covering, that inner spirit that we need to be looking at. So we understand that the wedding garment is the spirit, and we understand that we got to render to the world what belongs to the world, but Yah wants what belongs to him. What Yah wants, what belongs to him is he wants his servants. His servants have to serve him. So we understand we don't want to be vain on appearance, so let's work on this vanity on the inside. And we worship, we serve Yahweh. We do not want vain worship. So let's look at this vain worship, and this is where Yahshua came, is to come and separate us from this vain worship. Separate us from this letter of the law with no understanding of the spirit of the law. If you got the letter of the law, but without the spirit of the law, then that's vanity. That's insufficient. That's not satisfactory. So let's go to Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to read 1 through 34. Matthew 6. I know this is a bit of a long class, but it's real important that we understand the two aspects, important aspects of where we do not need to have vanity. Man is vain, period. We look in the mirror every day, not for glorification of Yahweh, because we're handsome, we're beautiful, we like the way we look, we like the way Yahweh made us. Man is flesh, it's going to be that way. But where we cannot be vain is when it comes to our uniform for Yahweh, which identifies us as a servant of Yahweh, and how we serve and worship Yahweh. We cannot be vain. So that's where our focus needs to be. Matthew 6 and verse 1. Take heed that you do not your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father, which is in heaven. So if I'm doing something for a reward from Yahweh in heaven, which is salvation, because that's where it comes from, and I'm doing something that's not going to get that, then it's vanity. It's not giving me, it's not sufficient. I'm not getting the reward that I want. Verse 2. Therefore, when you do with your alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. You're getting glory of men. The glory of men is for yourself. The beauty and glory is supposed to be for Yahweh. You have made yourself into an idol. Verse 3. But when you do as alms, let not your left hand know what your right hand doeth, that your alms may be in secret, and that your Father which seeth you in secret himself shall reward you openly. So this is how you're supposed to do your good deeds. You do it when it's necessary. You do it in private if possible. If you have to do a good deed in front of people, you don't not do the good deed because people are there. Don't be an idiot. No, you do the deed when it's necessary, without a precedence of doing it because people are there. Verse 5. And when you pray, you shall not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may not be seen of men. Yes, I say unto you, they have their reward. Again, use common sense. Don't go look for a public place, a wailing wall, or stand in front of the congregation to want to pray. You should be praying when it's necessary. You should be praying in private, if possible. But if you need to pray over somebody, or you need to pray in a situation in public, you do that. Or if you need to pray to glorify Yahweh in public, you do that. Verse 6, but you, when you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father which is in secret, and your Father which seeth in secret shall reward you in openly. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do. Now it's a vain repetition because it's not sufficient. It's unsatisfactory. Yahweh not hearing your prayer. So if you're praying in vain repetitions, that means the repetitious prayer you're saying Yahweh is not hearing, as the heathens do. For they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. So if you're praying ultra long just to be ultra long, just to outpray somebody or just to sound righteous or holy, then that's vain. If you pray long because you have a lot in your heart and you're trying to pour your soul into Yahweh, there's no vanity in that. And it won't be repetitious because Yahweh is going to put different things in your heart. Some things might be the same because those are requirements of prayer, which we went over in another class. Verse 8. Be you not therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask him. So you don't have to ask for the same things every time. After this manner therefore pray you, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. So, again, yours is the glory and the power and the kingdom forever. Amen. It ain't for us. It's for Yahweh. Everything we do is for Yahweh. We need to check ourselves in everything we do that we put Yahweh's name in it. Who is the glory for? You have to check yourself within your heart. Man can't check you on that. Each of us have to look in our hearts and look and say, why are we doing this? Why am I putting my name on this? Am I putting my name on this to glorify myself, or am I putting my name on this to glorify Yahweh? Verse 14. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. That is very important. That's the most important line. If you're not going to forgive somebody, how is Yahweh going to forgive you and trust you? Trust me and trust yourself. We need forgiveness. Just even looking at these fringes. I was walking around here with my fringes completely wrong every single time that I wore it. I needed forgiveness. So how can I forgive somebody that taught me incorrect when they themselves didn't know any better? Verse 15. Verse 16. Moreover, when you fast, be not as hypocrites of sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Yes, I say unto you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. Anoint your head is putting oil on your head. That's when you're anointed. That's what you do when you get anointed. They put oil on your head. Now, it's a special oil when you're being anointed for Yahweh, but anoint your head. Wash your face. Verse 18. That you appear not unto men to fast, but unto your Father which is in secret. And your Father which seeth in secret shall reward you openly. Lay not up for you yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The light of your body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be of evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in the darkness in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. And that is very true. Even if you are that Mammon, you are that worldly thing, and Mammon and cosmos go right together, earthly things. Because if you are placing the precedence on your own beauty, on looking the way you want to look, Yahweh's law is going to get in the way sometimes with some outfits that you want to wear. If you want to worship a certain way that is glorious to you, Yahweh's law is going to get in the way with that. You want to, do certain ceremonies and stuff because you want to impress somebody that's coming by or whatever, or you want to speak holy because somebody's by. That's not going to be sufficient. You're going to hate Yahweh because you now put your own glory above Yahweh's glory, and you're going to despise the law because you have now walked against the law when you know better, when you are supposed to be an example of the law. Verse 25, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into the barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. and you not much better than they? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit of his stature? And why take you the thought of raiment? Consider the lilies of the field. How can they grow? They toil not, neither do they spin. So we're not even supposed to take this thought for our lives, much less the thought of the lives of others that are suffering. Us worrying about that is not going to change anything. Do something that is not vain. Pray about it. Pray to Yahweh about it. And don't let it be repetitious. Now you're doing something about it. Now it is being satisfactory if your prayers are being heard. But sitting around worrying and looking all sad and everybody see you sad because somebody hurt or sick or whatever. No. That's not, how's that glorifying Yahweh? That's showing that you have no faith in Yahweh. You have no faith that He's going to do something that's glorious. He can't do a miracle. Or He can't heal somebody. Or He's not going to show you why He's doing something. You have no faith. You're sitting around worrying. And what does that do to the body? Stress does what to the body? Destroys it. You're destroying your temple by sitting around worrying about things that you have no control over. When you could be focusing that attention on the things you have control over, your walk, keeping these commandments, your dress code, your works, your intent when you do these things. Verse 29, and yet I say unto you that even Shlomo in all his glory was not yet arrayed like the one of these. Wherefore if Elohim so cloth the grass of the field, where today is and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall He not much more clothe you, O you little of faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewith shall we be clothed? Again, use common sense. That don't mean you don't pray. If you starve and you pray for it. You don't sit around and starve to death and be like, oh, Yahweh don't support me. That's faith, but at the same time, pray. Maybe Yahweh want to hear what's in your heart. Maybe in that prayer, He'll identify to you what you need to do wrong, what you're doing wrong to cause Him to stop from feeding you. Verse 32. For after all things do the Gentiles seek, for your heavenly Father knoweth that which you need of all things. The Gentiles in culture, which are the Euro-Gentiles, and the Gentiles in spirit, which are the ones that don't want to keep this law. That's what they worry about, because that's what Esau did. Oh, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. Here, give me this food. I'll give away my birthright, my blessing, which I don't even, that was given unto you. You didn't earn that. That is not yours to give away. You'll despise those things when you are of the things of the earth and not the things of heaven. He despised his birthright, as the Gentiles do, even if you're a Gentile in your spirit. Verse 33, but seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no thought for tomorrow, for the morrow shall take the thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto this day is the evil thereof. So this is how we don't want to do this vain worship. Now, we did have some instances where we need to pray in public. And the problem is with our people, we take things very literal. And we like to be this or that. Sometimes you have to be able to discern spiritually by looking at Yeshua and looking at the prophets and looking at the great people in this book that Yahweh got His glory from. So let's go to Daniel chapter 6. And we're going to read verses 1 through 16. There's a difference between vanity and glory. Vanity is when the glory goes to yourself, and glory is when the glory goes to Yahweh. Daniel chapter 6, and we're going to read 1 through 16. We got about 2 more readings. Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him. Yeah, Yahweh's spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So even when you're walking, when you're in captivity, he's in captivity right now. When you're in captivity and you walk according to this strange and peculiar way that Yahweh set before us, it says that when a man is righteous, he'll even have peace with his enemies. His enemies is raising him up. So in this carnal life, yeah, we're in captivity. The Gentiles will raise you up when you are walking according to the way Yahweh wants you to walk. Does it mean you always going to be on high? No, because the Gentiles not going to like it. But you are going to receive raises. You're going to be raised up. You're going to be promoted. And if in your life you're never being promoted in anything, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? Verse 4. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdoms, but they could not find none occasion nor fault, forasmuch as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So again, the law says you're supposed to keep the laws of the land and where you at. You shouldn't be getting in all these problems with the law. Now, when the law of the land contradicts the law of Yahweh, that's a different story. And they knew that. They knew they couldn't find a fault with him unless they could find a law that they could make of the land that could contradict the law of his Elohim. Verse 5. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his Elohim. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any Elohim or man for 30 days, save of you, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. Wherefore, King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his Elohim as he did aforetime. So this wasn't vanity to him because he did this aforetime. 3 times a day he prayed before his Elohim. And I would imagine that this is being aligned with the time that the incense would have been or should have been burned in Jerusalem. So, because we know that the incense carries the prayers of the saints unto heaven. Right. So he did this, and he prayed and opened up his chamber so everybody could see this. He was giving glory unto Elohim. Man's law is not going to supersede Yahweh's law. I know what the law that you made is, but you're not going to supersede my God. I'm not giving you the glory. I'm giving Yahweh the glory. So this is different than standing on the corner and praying so everybody know that you worship Yahweh and that you being so holy. Verse 11. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his Elohim. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any Elohim or man within 30 days, save of you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Yehuda, regardeth not you, O king, nor the decree that you have signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself. He was displeased with himself because he got duped. He got tricked. He realized that, of course, they hate this man because I'm about to put him over everybody else because of his righteousness, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So he tried every way to find a way out of that law. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, know, O king, that the law of the Medes and the Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. The king commanded that they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, your Elohim, who you service continually, he will deliver you. So even in this action of disobedience to the law of the land, which was an action of obedience to the law of Yahweh, has now got glory unto Yahweh. Because this king, who was not of the children of Israel, who had his own gods, is now glorifying Yahweh. Say, I have faith in your God, the God you serve continually. He's going to deliver you. So he got faith in Yahweh because of your actions. But who's behind is on the line? The servant. The servant behind is getting ready to be thrown into this lion's den. So this is what happens when you put Yahweh's glory first over man's glory. It's going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to find yourself all alone in a situation where man is trying to kill you. This is when you have to have faith in Yahweh and say, I have faith in Yahweh. If I burn up or if I get ate up, it was Yah's will. And guess what? I'll be the brother that they'll be talking about that got ate up and burnt up for Yah's will. But if Yahweh get me out of here, like I don't believe he wants to destroy me because I can't serve him dead, at least in the flesh. So I believe he's going to deliver me. I don't believe my Elohim, no father wants to kill his son. So let's go ahead and go to Luke chapter 8.
I had a question on that because he did what he had to do, and they observed him, and since the king was a heathen, but yet he also saw how much that Daniel believed, so he believed for Daniel that Daniel's Elohim will save him, even though he know all his secular stuff was wrong and he couldn't get him out of it. Should it be where people should be taught when families ask you to pray, or if they won't pray for them, it may be a better way to establish wording with them and say, look, my God is this is what I pray to, this is who I pray to. And, because people say, don't pray for them, but if you tell them I'm praying to you, I'm praying to Yahweh for you, because this is what I feel in my heart I would like to do. You have to thank Yahweh, not your God, but thank Yahweh because you have asked me to pray to my God for you. Even though you may not totally believe and you don't do this, you ask me. So that means that you should thank Yahweh no matter what happens, because this is what you asked for. But you see, it gets a little hard sometimes because we were said don't pray for them who don't believe in Yahweh, because you put your father to shame when you make him do something that for someone that's not his servant, and then you can get in trouble for doing that. But it gets to be a little bit, sometimes a little bit confusing.
Right. Yeah.
This guy here said, you believe and pray to your God, you know what I mean? Because he will deliver you. So that's putting faith. You know what I mean? That's changing his heart and putting faith because he knew his God's going to deliver him.
Yahweh just got glory from a heathen that worships many gods.
That's right.
Yahweh just got more precedence because he didn't say, I believe my God, the God of Nimrod or Chemosh or whoever the hell is going to deliver you because I love you, Daniel. I need you to go ahead and rule my kingdom and keep me prosperous. I want the blessings that are coming from you through Yahweh. Because that's what it was about. He wanted those blessings that came through him by Yahweh. So when you're dealing with praying for other individuals, to me it's absolutely ridiculous to say you can't pray for somebody else because they don't worship your God. We're told to pray for our enemies. So how are we supposed to pray for our enemies which are not worshiping your God? Because if they're your enemies, that means they're doing some kind of transgression of the law against you. They are now not worshiping Yahweh. That's not how you worship. That's how you worship the adversary, the devil. Because of whatever fleshly reason they mad at you, they breaking this commandment. They're now worshiping the adversary, the devil. Now, what you don't want to do is allow somebody else to give the glory to another God. You can't control that person from doing that, but you can make conditions before you pray for the person that if they don't agree, that you're not going to pray for them. And what I would suggest and what I would do is I would tell, hey, you want me to pray for you? I'm letting you know right now I'm not praying to your Jesus. I'm not praying to your Jehovah. I'm not praying to the Lord. I'm praying to Yahweh Elohim, the Elohim of Israel, the Most High. That's who I'm praying for. And I'm praying that his glory and his mercy will come upon you because I love you. And if and when he does deliver you from this affliction that you have, if this happens, you cannot give that glory to your God, your Jehovah, your Elohim, your whatever, or else I will not pray for you, because I will not put my Elohim in that situation, and I want to pray for you. So you're going to have to make a decision here what you're going to do. Now, the person can be desperate and tell you whatever they want. People tell you anything for their deathbed.
But they made a covenant.
But now they're breaking the covenant, and they're responsible and not you.
Right.
And if something bad happens to them, it happens to them. It's not on you. Now, if you know for a fact that this person is going to do wickedness and is not going to turn around and worship Lucifer for this.
Don't do it.
And they're doing it while you're doing it, and they refuse, then don't do it because you're causing more harm to them than good. But it's absolutely ridiculous to say that the power of prayer, this is how people are converted, was by miracles. That was the purpose of the miracle, was to bring glory unto Yahweh, to bring believers. So if this person has been praying all this time to Jesus, and Jesus is not helping them, you pray to Yahweh, they look at the changes that happen in your life and the blessings you have, and they say, man, maybe this Yahweh is real. This person may be converted. But now if you only care about yourself, and you're scared something's going to happen to you, if you mess up, you do something wrong, then you're not going to be willing to put your life on the line for a friend. And Yahshua said, what greater gift is a man to show that he loves his friend by to lay his life down. And you laying your life down, because if that person does something and Yahweh decides to get angry with you, he coming after you. So you risking yourself. But I would hope that he would have mercy on me because I'm doing what I'm the best that I can do according to these commandments, to the understanding he gave me with my intent. I'm not doing this for vanity so I can, start some congregation of healing and start selling blankets or whatever foolishness that's going on.
Right.
So
that's right.
Let's go to Luke 18 in chapter. No, matter of fact, we'll skip that. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 1. We know we're supposed to pray always, and we're supposed to pray for other people. Matter of fact, no, I'm sorry. I'm being very wishy-washy. Let's read the scripture. This is Sabbath. We ain't got no time restriction. Luke 18, chapter 1. I'm trying to be polite, but at the same time, I'm not going to be putting Yahweh's business under, trying to, keep the sermon short. If this is the way the sermon went, then this is the way the sermon went. This is a very important topic we're going over. And this goes right with what you're saying about praying for people. Isaiah chapter 1. I'm sorry. Luke chapter 18. Luke chapter 18. My apologies. Right. Luke chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14. Luke chapter 18 and verse 1. And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. So you're supposed to pray. And who are you supposed to be praying for? Other people. You're not supposed, your Father knows what you need. You're not supposed to be praying for yourself all the time. That's selfishness. How do you love your brother? You pray for yourself, right? So how do you love your brother like yourself if you're not praying for your brothers and sisters? So you're supposed to pray for other people. Who's to say that this person gets healed from this spiritual affliction that they have because of the prayer of a righteous saint? Who's to say that's not what got that person the opportunity? Who's to say the only reason your eyes is open is because a righteous saint prayed for you? Verse 2, saying there was in a city a judge which feared not Elohim, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, avenge me mine adversary. And he would not for a while. But afterward he said within himself, though I fear not Elohim, nor regard men, yet because this widow troubled me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. And the Adonai said, hear what the unjust judge saith. And shall not Elohim avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? And he spake this parable unto a certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus within himself, Elohim, I thank you that I am not as the other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican standing afar off will not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, Elohim, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. So, in everything that you do, you are humbling yourself by giving the glory to Yahweh, because you're the one physically doing it. You're the one that's physically dressed. You're the one that physically looked dressed nice. You're the one that physically did the works that produced the fruit. Spiritually, it was through Yahweh, but you're physically doing it. But you're humbling yourself by saying, no, don't glorify me, praise Yahweh. Hey, it was a great sermon. Hey, praise Yahweh. Hey, I did it physically, but Yahweh, Spirit, is what was given. Glorify him, praise Yahweh. Just like Yahshua, hey. Don't call me great. There's no other great but our Father which is in heaven. I don't want none of that glory to go to me. I don't want to be brought low. I want mine, what's promised to me. I want to be on the right hand of the throne. I want to be him in the flesh. Verse 15, they brought unto him also infants, and he would touch them, while when his disciples saw him, they rebuked them. But Yahshua called them unto him and said, Suffer the little children to come unto me, forbid them not, for such is the kingdom of Elohim. For verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of Elohim as the little child, shall in no wise enter therein. So, I want to go over something real quick, since we went over fringes, about all the sick people that they brought unto him. There was a part where it talks about a woman and how she was grabbing on the hem of Yahshua.
And issue of blood was cleansed from her.
Matthew chapter 9.
Yeah. And
we're going to read that. And again, why are these fringes so important for us to wear? This English translation, without getting into Hebrew and the Greek words, leaves so much out of understanding of things that are important. And it leaves us for us to figure out ourselves what's important, which is a bad place to be. We want to know what Yahweh thinks is important. Verse 20.
His virtue came out of him, I think he said, when someone touched him.
Right. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 20. Yeah, she had an issue of blood. So Matthew chapter 9 and verse 20. Verse 20. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. So it says hem right here. Let's look at the Greek word. The Greek word for hem was G2899, which is kraspedon, of certain derivation, a margin that is specifically a fringe or a tassel, the border, the hem. So she's touching on Yahshua's fringes. So Yahshua wore fringes. So why are we not wearing fringes? He himself, in captivity, wore fringes. And the woman touched the fringes, which is a symbol of the laws. She grabbed a hold of the laws, and we're going to see what happened.
Wait, grabbed a hold of the what?
The laws.
All
The
right.
fringes represent the law, statutes, and commandments, that we may remember them.
Okay.
That's what, and they surround us. They're around the whole edge, border of our clothes, the canap. So we're surrounded by the laws. They're always on our mind. Yeshua wore fringes. We just read it right here, kraspedon. Kraspedon was the Greek word for fringe, for the fringes, tassel. So Yeshua wore fringes and tassel. Now there's significance of why she grabbed on the hem. Why she didn't grab on his shirt, his shoulder, his sleeve. She humbled herself.
I'm glad you explained this, because it makes you think that this woman was, because there were so many people, she might have been knocked on the ground and only grabbed the hem, which thinking him on the ground at the bottom because they wore robes. So I'm glad that, we got a little deeper into this, because it makes you think a little differently,
Right. So she had to humble herself. Many people was around. She could have got trampled. So she's risking her life and limb to touch the kraspedon, which was the tzitzit, the fringes of his garment. They translated it to hem. They could have said fringes, but they hid it in plain sight. You can read the definition yourself if you want to know the truth, if you want to be accurate. And if you take away the fringe, it takes away the whole significance of why grabbing her fringe, why grabbing Yeshua's fringe was important. Plus, it's showing how Messiah dressed. He wore fringes. So how are you going to be part of his body and part of a follower of Christ and you're not wearing fringes? Especially when it was a commandment to the children of Israel. Especially since the only law he changed was the ordinances pertaining to animal sacrifice. He didn't change. He didn't say, hey, I fulfilled these fringes. You need to do this. So verse 18, verse 21, for she said within herself, she had faith, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be made whole. So she said, his garment was his covering. So now you know it wasn't the hem of his pants. Because your garment is your covering. So she wanted to touch his covering. The easiest thing could have been for her to touch, a sleeve standing up or something, or she could have been knocked down, or she could have humbled herself. But either way, she touched his fringe. And the people were thronging on him. The people were grabbing on him. It says it in another place that describes this. The people around grabbing on him. All right, so let's go ahead to verse 22. But Yeshua turned him about, and when he saw her, said, daughter, be of good comfort. Your faith hath made you whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. And when Yeshua came into the ruler's house and saw the minstrels of the people making a noise, he said unto them, give place, for the maid is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. So that's all I wanted to read right there about the fringes. She grabbed on the fringes. In another place where they describe it, they were thronging on him. And they're like, how do you even know that this woman grabbed your fringes when everybody grabbing on you?
That's the point I'm talking about that
exactly.
I read in another book.
Yeah, so probably Luke or Matthew or Mark or one of the other descriptions. Each one gets a little bit more of the account. But
how you know who touched you?
Right. How you know who touched you? And she touched his commandments that were round about him. She grabbed a hold to the commandments. She humbled herself to the order because the Jew is above the other nations. Yahweh set the Jew above, even above his brothers, Yahweh set him above. So she respected the order. Salvation is of the Jews, of the Yehudim. Salvation is of the Yehudim. So there's significance in these fringes. If we don't understand the significance of them, then we think it's just carnal. It's just vanity, trying to look righteous. No, there's significance. If Yeshua wore it, that means he was keeping the letter of the law. If it healed a woman, who's to say that spiritually, certain people we can't heal because we're not in the proper attire? He can't put all of the spirit on us that he wants to give us. Because we're not keeping the commandments. We vanity. He's not going to put all his spirit on vanity. There's certain problems, issues we probably can't deal with in our lives because we're not in proper attire. We can't get on the playing field because we don't have a helmet on. So this is why we got to get in these things, and we need to try and prove all things and not just trust anything that's taught to us, told to us, or we even read ourselves in English. Because there's a reason why there's a Strong's Concordance. Because it's not giving you the proper definition every time. So now we can go into Isaiah chapter 1. And this is about this vain worship again. Vain worship is not going to work. And it got so bad that Yahweh had to say something. You know what? This is it. He sent his brother Isaiah, go down there and speak to these people. And this is why, we hear about these other brothers in these other camps that, yelling at people, cussing at people on the corners, these New York brothers and these, up north brothers, and they doing that. But when you listen to their doctrine, some of it is false. Some of it is very false. But majority, the bulk of what they're saying is the raw, rugged truth. Now, the intent in their heart appears to us that they're just trying to attack people and they're mad and they're angry. But who's to say Yahweh didn't put it in their heart to speak judgment against these nations? When Isaiah came out here and spoke this stuff, they thought about him the same way. Jeremiah, they thought about him the same way. All these prophets that came, they hated him because they were so harsh. They didn't come and speak in loving words. Oh, yes, please do this. But then they came in, you are a wicked generation. You are sottish people. So I don't rebuke the people that are on the corner doing it. First of all, they're putting their life on the line because people will kill you over their religion. Second of all, they're putting their safety on the line because the police want to arrest you because you know something that you shouldn't know. And third of all, I ain't in control of everything that's going on. I don't know how Yahweh is moving us as a nation. If he chose those people to get up there and speak that way, I'll rebuke the things that are wrong, the things that are against the commandments. But I'm not going to rebuke the fact that you're going out there trying to save your people. They're not going out there to attack white people. They're trying to save their people. So we about to read a brother right here who they would have considered as one of those brothers screaming on the corner. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 1. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Yehuda. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yahweh hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel does not know my people. Do they not consider? A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken Yahweh. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger, and they have gone away backward. And imagine a brother sitting on the corner right now speaking those words to us as we walk by, even as Hebrews. We look and we say, well, we're trying to keep these commandments. We keeping the Sabbath day. We doing this. We doing that. But then the brother look down and say, look at your dress. You're not even dressed according to the commandments. You don't even have your head covered. Your loins ain't covered. You got on a tie. You got a phallic symbol on. And you got some nerve to sit here and talk about somebody else. But if you're humble, you will hear the things and say, hey, you know what? Some of these things apply to me and my people. Not because only me, but even my people in general. But if you're in this vanity, you're not going to hear that. Verse 5. Why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. For the sole of the foot, even to the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. You're unclean. You're not fit to walk on holy grounds. You're not fit to do the service of Yahweh, is what he's saying. Verse 7, your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. And the daughters of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except Yahweh of hosts have left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. So he's considering us as Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know what the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was. But we have made ourselves unclean to the point where we're due the death penalty. Verse 10. Hear the word of Yahweh, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of Elohim, of our Elohim, you people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is this multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith Yahweh? So first he's saying, hey, you would have been like Sodom and Gomorrah, and you would have been destroyed like that city. Now I'm trying to say that your rulers are like, you rulers are the rulers of Sodom and Gomorrah. You are literally in Sodom and Gomorrah, and the United States is literally Sodom and Gomorrah spiritually. The laws, the way we conduct business, and you got to go into Book of Yasharal to get a little bit more into how Sodom and Gomorrah operated. It wasn't just sodomy. It was unrighteous judgment. They made up all kind of laws of themselves according to Book of Yasharal, if that's true. They made up all kind of laws that, you come in the land, you got to make, walk left and make a right. If you don't do that, then you owe $50,000 and all kind of wickedness, and they could rape new people and all. They had all kind of wicked laws in there. And that's America. America got wicked laws. They don't explain the laws to you.
You got some wicked laws. They got laws came out and a cop, see you on the street, say, man, I never heard that kind of law before. Yeah, well, he's been around for several years. You just don't know about it. Well, God darn, being arrested because I got a law I have no clue of, and you didn't, show the people. That is screwed up.
Right.
That's unlawful. That's wrong.
They should give you a warning.
How you gonna keep stuff you don't even know nothing about?
Write it down on the warning. It's logged in the system. If you get pulled over for the same thing, you see, hey, no, you were warned. On this day you were given a warning. Now you're going to jail. That's understandable. But when the purpose is vain, the purpose isn't to uphold the law. The purpose is to make money and to be a respecter of persons. They take people who they want to take to jail and take who they don't want, and they make money how they can make money. Taking more people to jail. So in verse 11, to what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith Yahweh? I am full of burnt offerings of rams and of fat-fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. When you come to appear before me, who have required this at your hand to tread my court? Bring no more vain oblations. So men like to say, you ain't got to do none of these things that we're about to read about. Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and the Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with it. So if you cherry pick here, you can say, bring no more vain oblations, incenses, abominations, like the new moon, Sabbaths, and calls of assemblies. Stop right there.
And now you can can't understand what the heck that means.
Right. First of all, he's saying no vain oblations. No, go back to the definition of vain. No insufficient, unsatisfactory, empty offerings. Transitory offerings. Bring none of those to me. And your new moon and your incense and your calling the assembly and your Sabbath. Don't bring none of these vain displays to me. But even despite your vanity, he finishes it. You have to read the full sentence at least. He says, I cannot away with it. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. So we have turned righteousness into iniquity, and still, Yahweh, how holy he is and how perfect he is, he said, I cannot away with it because I made this law. And I will keep my own laws because I can. I can say, forget about it if I want to. But because I'm so perfect and I'm going to fix you, which is the problem. Not the law is the problem. You are the problem. You flawed the law. I'm going to change it a little bit so that you can be fixed. Verse 14, your new moon and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And this is how he feels when we are vanity, when we are vain. Everything that we do is vain. This is how he feels towards that vanity. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. When you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. He didn't say put away your Sabbath. Put away your incense. Put away your new moons. He said put away your evil of your doings. Put this wickedness, put away this vain worship away from you, because the worship is not sufficient. And how do you put away the evil from amongst you, from you? He defines it. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, and let us reason together, said Yahweh. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If you be willing and obedient, you shall eat of the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured with the edge of the sword, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken it. How is it the faithful city become a harlot? It is full of judgment, lodged in it, but now murderers. The silver has become dross, your wine mixed with water, your princes are rebellious, and companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts and followeth after rewards. They judge not the followers, neither does the cause of the widow come unto them. Therefore, saith Yahweh, the Yahweh of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies. And he's talking about us. We the enemies. Because we the servants to show the rest of the world righteousness, but we walking in vanity and worshiping in vanity. And I will turn my hand upon you and purely purge away the dross and take away all your sin. And I will restore your judges as the first and your counselors as the beginning. Afterward, you shall be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. And how he's going to restore these judges and these counselors is he's going to reveal this word unto his servants. We are those servants. We are the first ones whose eyes are being opened. And it's up to us to learn these things, not to honor our elders by following tradition, but to grow from what was given us, to build upon the foundation that was given us and straighten out, because they were born in captivity too. They weren't born in Israel. They were born in captivity just like us. So they did the best that they could. So how you honor your elder and honor your Elohim is to build thereupon and fine-tune and get rid of the silver and the dross that is on the tin that's messed up, the wine mixed with water, to purge all those things. Verse 27, Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts, and with righteousness. And you'll have converts because we're going to be converting people, because we're going to be judging with righteousness. We can't judge now because we don't fully understand righteousness. We just learn how to wear fringes. How are we going to be judging in righteousness? We just learn how to we can't even put on the judge's robe. We got to wear a robe. We don't even know how to put on a robe. We got a robe on backwards. We got a baseball bat in our hand instead of a gavel. But we want to be judges. This is why we're not supposed to be judges. We're supposed to learn and have mercy and compassion and help each other learn this word so we can judge angels when it's his time. Everything in its proper time. Verse 28. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake Yahweh shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which they have desired, and they shall be confounded for the gardens they have chosen, that you have chosen. For you shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that hath no water. And the strong shall be as a tow, and the maker of it as a spark. And they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them. So this is the consequences of vain worship. And when you have vain worship, you're going to see vain fruits, which is vain works, vain doings. And this is what will get us killed. That is what is going to have us being that withered tree that Yahshua is going to take and burn. The one that the husbandman said, hey, let me dung it first. Let me feed it some word. Let me feed it some life and give it a chance for that fruit to bear. But when that servant, that teacher, that rebuker, that brother or sister that came to you to rebuke you, to help you, to show you righteousness, and you turn away, you are now that tree that has been dung, that has not produced fruit. And Yahshua said, when I come back around, if there ain't no fruit in that tree, grab it, bind it up, and burn it so it can be firewood. And that's what we're trying to avoid, that vain works. So let's finish up in James chapter 2, and we're going to finish up this class for the day about this vain works. Because again, knowledge is good and knowledge is great, but if you can't apply it, then it's just vanity, because it's not being accepted unto you. I appreciate you bearing with me. I know this is a long class, but this is what Yahweh put on my heart for us to deal with this before the Pentecost.
Good class, bro. Praise Yah. You know that Yahweh so fit to share it with us. So praise Yah.
Praise Yah. James chapter 2, and we're going to read the whole chapter and finish up. James chapter 2 and verse 1. My brethren, have not the faith of our Yadon Yasharal HaMashiach, the Yadon of glory, with the respect of persons. For if there come unto you assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and you have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and saying to him, sit you here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand you there, or sit under my footstool. And this right here is a prime example of being respected of persons. And some of the worst things you'll ever see in your life is when you have a group here that's in power, and you have somebody new that comes by, and the person is dressed nice, looks nice, and is well, looks like they have money, and you giving them the prime seat, you treating them, you sitting them down, feeding them, doing everything, because you feel like, oh, I'm going to have a new member to my group or my congregation. I'm going to get money, I'm going to get tithes, I'm going to get this offering, or I'm going to get somebody that can do some works. But then you have a poor person, a homeless person, a person who probably even has partly mental illness, and you brush that person away in the house of Yahweh, a house that's supposed to be dedicated to Yahweh. Now, your house, that's a different story. But a house of Yahweh, a congregation, a building, and you push that person away, you don't even feed that person spiritually or physically, that's being respected of persons. Yahweh is not going to accept those offerings from you because they're vain. He just said, do not have faith in the Yadon Yasharal with respect to persons. Were you trying to say something, brother?
No, you go ahead on, because you was talking truth there.
Okay, brother. Verse 4. And you not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, have not Elohim chosen the poor of this world rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom which hath promised to them that love him? But you have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by which you are called? And I'm going to give you an example of my own personal experience of a failure that I had in the same situation. And I went home and I talked to my wife. I was in a congregation, and I was standing, and a lady came to the door who was homeless. You could tell she was obviously homeless or unclean because she was nasty, disgusting. And her skin was like glazed. I mean, it was a black woman, and she had like, her hair was like gray, but it was all, I mean, her stench was so bad I wanted to walk away. But I didn't walk away. I didn't walk away because of embarrassment of myself that all these other men standing here could deal with this stench, but I'm the one that got to walk away. So already I was standing in the wrong spirit. And the brothers and sisters and the leadership of the church start to grill this woman. The woman is talking foolishness, but the woman came to the church for a reason. And we never got to the reason of why she came. She was just attacked. And I kept trying to ask questions like, what are you, trying to feed this woman spiritually. And I was prevented from speaking. I got kind of shushed to not speak. Yeah. And then they pushed the woman out, and they pushed the woman out. And I felt so bad. And I said, you know what? Okay, I can see her not coming in the sanctuary. Yeah, because you got to be clean. But you could have let the woman in the lobby sit down and have a plate of food. You sent her away with something to eat? Are you hungry? You didn't come here to serve Yah, but you come here to eat. Let me at least give you some food. Maybe this food that we prayed over may give you a spirit of healing. And I took it as a loss, and I wanted to go outside and go talk to the woman. And I opened up the door, and she was gone. And I saw her barely walking off the corner for where my view could see. And I felt defeated in myself, and I said, I did the wrong thing. I should have fed this woman. I brought food here. I brought part of this. I should have brought some and gave the plate to the woman, at least gave her that. And we went and we talked about it, and we sat in a group, and the leadership is joking, cracking jokes, and doing this, and I took part, and I started making jokes too, knowing this was wrong. Knowing my heart was already feeling a contrite spirit. But I got caught up in the spirit of jesting, which shouldn't have been taking place on the Sabbath to begin with. That's in the oracles of the church. When you open up the oracles of the church in a congregation, in a building dedicated to Yahweh. And I went home and felt so defeated, and I beat myself up so bad because I allowed other men, I followed instead of following the Spirit, which told me to do right. And then on top of that, when I didn't do right, I joked about it. And it was one of those situations that you got to really take a deep look at yourself if you want to correct these things within yourself. Because that was the test. Maybe in the future it would be a salvation issue on the line. Somebody's salvation, if it wasn't already a salvation, if this person didn't already get dead because me, the one servant who saw right and acknowledged it and didn't do right. Maybe it was my job to do that. So these things, what good is it to have this knowledge to talk it and say it but not do it? Then it's vanity and it's vain worship to do that, and it's not going to be accepted. And a priest that is operating in that manner cannot cover you or a congregation. Verse 7. Do not they blaspheme that worthy name which they are called? So we are blaspheming Yahweh's name. We are blaspheming Israel when we do these things. Verse 8. If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You do well. But if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. You offend that one, you offended all of them. Verse 9. But if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't keep laws because you know you're going to offend in one. And that's what people will try to use as well and say, you keep the whole law? Well, then, if you don't keep the whole law, then you're offending all the law. So this is why I don't keep this law. That's BS.
That's an excuse.
That's an excuse. You do the best that you can do, which just varies from man to man. Understanding varies from man to man because the amount of spirit that's given to man varies, and the timeline in which each man is in his development is different. So people like to use it.
They don't understand what they're really saying is that's why I don't keep this excuse. Well, guess what? If you know that some of these laws that you can understand, you should keep, but the other ones you don't understand, but you don't keep, and you may not even give a try to, then if you're saying that's why I don't do this, well, obviously you shouldn't be worried about if you're going to go to hellfire because obviously you don't care.
Exactly. It's not important. Your set of rules, what you decide is important is important. That's why I don't get into teaching anybody not to keep these commandments. The only thing that I will teach somebody not to do is not to do those animal sacrifices because that's what was told to us to no longer do.
That's
period.
Right.
Any other law, I will never teach against any other law. And any of these other laws, and even the laws with the sacrifices, I don't teach that it is invalid. I teach that it was changed and we are to do it differently, spiritually. Because I understand, from a baby's understanding, anybody that teaches not to do these commandments and don't do them themselves is the least in the kingdom of heaven. And least liars, you won't even be there. Verse 11. For he that said, do not commit adultery, and also do not kill. Now, if you commit no adultery, yet if you kill, you are become a transgressor of the law. So speak you, and so do, as that shall be judged by the law of liberty, so that they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. You want to be judged by the law of liberty. You don't want to be judged according to this law because you are going to die. You didn't commit all these laws the way they were supposed to be. You want the law of liberty. You want righteousness. You want Yahshua to cover you. And for him to cover you, you got to judge it with mercy. The way you deal with your brothers, the same way you want to be judged. You don't want to say, hey, look, you didn't wear fringes. This is a commandment. You haven't been wearing fringes your whole time in this walk properly. Lake of fire. But then you want to be like that with another brother that ain't keeping the commandments because he didn't know any better or he couldn't see his sin. So you didn't rebuke him. You just talk about him, but don't rebuke him. Vanity. It's not going to be accepted. This is what we got to deal with within ourselves, and we are the only people that can deal with it. Nobody else can deal with that within ourselves. All they can do is rebuke and point things out.
You want the mercy, but you won't give the mercy.
Exactly. Verse 13. And why? Because for he shall have judgment without mercy that has shown no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say to them, depart in peace, be you warmed and filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what does it profit? What does it profit to send that homeless person away without food? At minimum, you can't give them the spirit, but at minimum, you can feed a hungry person. I don't care who they worship. At minimum, you can do that. Verse 17. Now, do you take food out of your family's mouth to feed them? No, you don't. You're out of order if you do so. You're worse than an infidel. Verse 17. Even so, faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone. Verse 18. Yea, a man may say, you have faith, and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that there is one God? You do as well. The devils also believe and tremble. But will you know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? You're vain because you're unsatisfactory. You're an unsatisfactory man. The whole duty of man is to keep these commandments. Point blank. Ecclesiastes, verse 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? See how faith wrought with works, and by works was faith made perfect. And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, Abraham believed Elohim, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness. And he was called the friend of Elohim. You're the friend of Elohim when you're obedient to Elohim. Verse 24. You see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise also, was not Rahab the harlot justified by works, when she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way? For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. So we have to understand, and the whole purpose of this whole class was for us to understand that vanity is not going to be accepted to Yahweh. If you're doing all these things and your goal is salvation, we are not going to attain unto that by doing the same vain things that's not new under the sun that we read in the beginning in Ecclesiastes. It's vanity. All these things have been done. Nothing is new under the sun. So we need to make sure at the root of everything, at the base minimum, everything we do, we are doing it according to the commandments. That is the baby step. The next step is to do it according to the spirit of the law, which is how Yahshua did it, how Yahshua preached it, how his disciples preached it. But at bare minimum, we should be keeping the commandments. Then you grow from there. It's not, oh, you're going to try to jump to the spirit of the law, but you ain't keeping the bare commandment. That's out of order. If Yahweh wanted it given that way, he would have sent Yahshua first, then he would have sent Moshe after in the time of the New Testament with 2 plaques to hear the laws. It didn't work that way. So that's all we're going to do today. Unless we have any comments or questions, we'll go ahead and end with a prayer.